And we begin. Hello, everybody. This is Peter Palmiotti, and this is Studio Synergy number 20. My little artist hangouts. That I used to have a schedule to, but now I do randomly. Um, so lots of stuff going on. I did a couple of video updates, but I do have a Kickstarter going on. If you want to check it out for a book I'm working on, which this is a page of. It's called End of Days. Just wrote up End of Days on Kickstarter. I'll put links in later. I actually thought of it too late just now. But I'll put it in the description box below. And we got a couple of people. Elena!
Hello.
Hello! Welcome!
I had a hard time getting on.
Are you with us now? It's a surprise. I just randomly invited a bunch of people. So I'm so happy to see you. You want to introduce yourself? We're doing intros right now.
Am I next in line?
Well, you're first in line, according
I'm
to my
first in
screen.
line.
Yes.
Hello, everybody. My name is Elena, and I'm Boots and Bats on YouTube and on Twitter. And I'm one of the 100s. So I'm just following Peter around.
Welcome.
Well, welcome.
Welcome.
Then we have Jay. Hey, Jay.
Hey, how's it going? Jay Ferguson. I'm an airbrush artist. You can find all my stuff at airheadscustom.com.
Cool. And we have Wilson. Right?
Hello, I'm Wilson Ramos. I'm a digital colorist, publisher, sketch card artist, inker, penciler, a little bit of everything. And you can find a lot of my stuff at the8spot.com. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Cool. So does anybody have anything to jump right in? Some conversation? Any challenges this week other than weather?
I unfortunately don't have any great stories to tell you right off the top of my head. Typical week, just work.
Yeah, same here. It's work week. Right now I'm just screen sharing because the stuff that I am working on, I can't share it yet. So that's why I have
Top
like
secret?
my own. Yeah, basically. Project that I've been on for probably now 6 months, and things will be launching soon, so to speak. So once they get done, then I could talk more about it. But at the moment, it's more like, there are times where I sign so many NDAs, I don't even know if I could talk to myself about the projects. But
Okay.
it happens to be those things. So, but a cool thing I am working on that I can talk about, although I can't screen share it because I do not have a camera on my computer, is the Star Wars cards that I'm working on. The Empire Strikes Back set, which is basically concentrating on the Empire Strikes Back for tops. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's a cool thing that I'm working on. And unfortunately, until those cards get approved, I can't show them off. But at least I could talk about the fact that I can work on them. So,
Yeah.
Any art project that makes it where I have to sit down and watch The Empire Strikes Back over and over again to get some cool ideas for scenes is a fun gig.
Yeah, it's not the worst job you could get.
Exactly.
So, if I can ask, for the set, how many do they give you to work on?
I think I'd agree to 300 and something cards.
Wow, okay.
Off the top of my head, I definitely have like 175 in one box, and then the other box it's they have different sizes now. They not only do single cards, they do this like little booklet type thing where it's like 2 cards in one, so it folds up. So I don't know the exact count off the top of my head.
Okay. Wow, that's still that'll keep you busy for a
Well,
while.
that's two.
Yeah, that's gonna be it's gonna be a lot of sleepless nights, but it's fun.
That's cool, man. That's a good gig.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
can pretty much tell the whole movie.
Pretty much.
basically, what I really like about working with Tops is that they really encourage you to work in your own art style. So what's good is like, yes, you have to make sure the characters look like them and what have you, but if like I have a fairly cartoony art style based off the web comic I do call At the 8th Spot. It's very cartoony, really big open eyes, like Little Orphan Annie. So I tend to do my sketch cards very similar to that style, which is fun. Mhm.
I was going to say, if I can ask, if you don't mind, like when you get a card set that large, how many returns do you get out of that?
I don't. Again, I was not prepared for the show today, so I didn't take down my normal notes like I usually do. I
fair enough.
think
Yeah.
there's a certain amount that you have to do in order to get cards back, and I think, and you can't quote me on this because I think it's somewhere like 25 to 50 cards. You get a few of them back, so I think I'm
so you should get quite
scheduled
a
to
few.
get. I think so. I think I should probably get about 8 to 10, maybe more. Again, is one of those things where all that's in the paperwork, which I don't have in front of me.
Right. Yeah, sorry, I don't want to sound like I'm interrogating you. That was just pure curiosity.
Oh no, it's a good question because one of the main reasons why we do why I do the cards is
For the returns,
is not only for the returns, but again, it's one of those things like people always ask why do I do so many, and I try to do as many as I can. I usually don't go over 100 or so. But I figured with this set, they also encourage you to try to do as many as possible. And I figured, even though I don't have a huge name out there, if I got 300 cards floating around, chances are someone may look at it, like it, and then go ahead and try to look up my other stuff, and then maybe they'll buy some of my comics and what have you. So it's really... is both for that aftermarket sales that I would get for selling my return cards, but also hopefully to get a larger fan base.
Yeah, well, that looks pretty good on your resume. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's always fun to be able to say I got to work on Star Wars.
Is it your first time doing work for Topps, or have you done work for them before?
I've done work for them before. As far as like sketch cards, I was one of the very first artists to work on sketch cards back in '98, and cool. They were for, I think it was Fleer, was one of the first ones to do it. Fleer Skybox was the first one to do a Marvel set called. I don't recall the name off the top of my head right now. They were called Sketchograph cards. And so I did a slew of Marvel cards, and this is back before we even had to copy them and stuff like that, so I don't even have copies of them. And they were really, really what I call dirty sketch cards. They were basically, they were what they were called, sketch cards. So it was, you didn't spend more than a few minutes on them, did a quick sketch, and then move on to the next card. And since this was something so fairly new at the time, we basically, and what I mean we is like a lot of the bullpen of Marvel at the time got to do a lot of these cards. So the cards were all over the place. Everyone who could carry a pencil was doing these cards because I don't think they anticipated how popular these would become. So I did those first sets back in the day, and then really after that set I didn't really work on much at all. And then I thought it was going to be kind of like the new fad and wasn't going to go anywhere. And then a few years later, they just kept popping up. So it wasn't until probably about 5 years ago where I got the call from Topps asking if I would be interested in doing Star Wars cards since I haven't done them in a while. And I thought, why not? It's been a long while. It'll be kind of fun. At the time, I was doing a lot of manga art, a lot of manga lettering. So they wanted to do a manga set of Star Wars cards. and so I was able to gear my art style to have that kind of a manga look. So once I did that, they really liked it. They kept calling me back, so I basically have been doing just about, I think, every set since for the last 5 years. Maybe not every Star Wars set, but at least once a year I did a bunch of cards. And I also got to do Mars Attacks, which is also by Topps as well. So that was fun because that was the 50th anniversary Heritage set. And
Okay.
what was fun with those and weird about them is like you were only allowed to do the original. You could only base your art on the original 50 card set that came out.
Oh.
Was it
Okay.
50? The cards, there might have been more cards. But it was for the anniversary set, and it was like that was cool to do. So we couldn't use the movie itself as reference. It had to be in the card set.
Okay.
But yeah, that was cool and fun. And then so I've done for Topps. I've done Marvel cards for Upper Deck, and DC cards for Cryptozoic.
Right.
They did the DC 52, so I did those. Did a couple of Walking Dead ones. The funny thing about those is that so many people wanted to be on it. We only had gotten maybe 25 cards per person because there was so many artists that wanted to be on that set.
I could imagine that. Yeah, for sure.
Also did the Tarzan anniversary set. Because Tarzan turned 100 years old. I think it was last or 2 years ago I did that set. And that was also for Cryptozoic.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you've done a hell of a lot of sketch cards. Okay, I've been educated. Cool.
But they're very fun cards to do. The trick is that after a while, certain things get a little tedious and boring. The great thing about Star Wars, thank God, that there are so many characters that you could you could spend just doing troopers alone, the different types of armor. You could fill up the set. The other thing too is how much time do you spend on the card? Because you can spend a whole day on one little card, and then you realize I still got 100 more to do of these things. So that's where also it comes to play of trying to be creative, doing something kind of cool. You also don't want to get bored while you're doing the sets as well. So there's coming up with little things here and there. I had made a set where I would tell little stories that basically just like a 9-card set that kind of tells the legacy of Boba Fett. So the first card would just be those little, if you recall in the movie, him being a clone. So it would be like Jango Fett looking over one of the clones, and then take chunks of different parts of the movie. Like at one point I have him holding his dad's helmet at the end scene where he's just near the end of the movie where he's just holding his dad's helmet, where you kind of know that's going to be his helmet. Things like that, just to get a story or narrative in these card sets.
Right. Okay.
And the card you get back, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say. Are they completely random, or are they your choices, or?
Basically, what you do is once you do the sets, you pretty much can when you send them back in, you just separate the number of a card. So let's say in one set I'm getting 8 cards back. Those cards I kind of wrap differently than the rest of them. You just put an envelope around them so you can say that I would like to get these back. Those are the ones that you get sent back, and that's how it is for Topps. Other companies are a little different. The Cryptozoic guys, if I remember correctly, after you do the set, you send those in, then they send you the blank cards, and then you can work on them on your own, whatever you want to do. So each company kind of has their own thing. I know for Upper Deck, they would send you a special set of cards. So if you were to get back 6, the 6 cards you would get back will have a stamped foil on the back that said artist proof on it. So even the card itself is a different card, where basically you can work on it on your own. I mean, you work on it and then send it back for approval, and then they send it back to you. So each company has their own little way of doing the returns.
Cool. So what are you working on, Jay? Who's that?
This is a piece. Well, it's for myself. In past conversations, I told you I was kind of slowly working on having an art book put out. This is a piece for that.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. So this is just kind of like I don't know what you'd want to call it, just like a real dark, kind of dark vampire goth-looking woman.
Nice. So, so yeah, we got hit by snow again, and I sort of like everything I intended to accomplish this week has been pushed back. It looks like we're finally going to get our kitty cats out to the farm tomorrow. And they'll be there, you know, until we can move. uh, maybe a couple of months, hopefully not too much longer. But I know we're going to do a total house cleaning with them out of our always getting in our way, as cats do. I got to do a major studio overhaul. I got so many projects going on now, and I really just want to get a handle on everything I got going on. I got commissions I got to do. I got all these comic projects now I'm inking. I got past work I want to get to as well. I want to become like majorly much more organized than I've ever been. Yeah, fingers crossed.
It'll all work out for you.
Yeah, well, things are definitely shaping up. Looking better. So I'm excited.
So I was watching your video a little earlier that you put up today. So you got a new art desk that you can work on now?
Well, it's it's like a business desk. I pretty much work flat. I've had art tables and I've kept angle very, low. But this is just like a big business desk. It's like the one I'm working on now is pretty short, depth wise. I need something bigger, you know. So it would just be a bigger space for me to work on, and I feel like I've just been fighting my space,
That'll never
which
end,
isn't
man.
good.
Never ends.
Yeah. So, it's a bit of an old one, so it weighs a ton. But we'll get it in here.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. No,
I was just going to say, talking about desks, I recently had gotten a new one for Christmas, and I'm only now having had time to actually put it together. it's actually pretty nice, but haven't really got to work on it yet. The cool thing about it is a lot bigger than the old desk I had. But the old desk I had it since I was going to high school. So it was like the same desk I've always had. So it's kind of weird changing from one to another. And again, I haven't sat down to actually work on it yet because I just finished building it not too long ago, a few days ago, I would say. And I'm still tweaking it for like height because I'm been toying around with the idea of having a standing desk, and this particular one is tall enough to be that. But I haven't really decided if the size of it is what I want. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with it yet, but definitely what I'm going to need to get a new chair for it now, because it's like all the ones that I have were just because I used to have it so low. Now it's like I don't even have I'm going to have to get a drafting chair, and I haven't had one of those in years.
Hmm. Oh, that's crazy that you've only been working on the same thing for so long.
It was one of those. I mean, there's been
Uh,
modifications made to it because it's a regular drafting table. But what was cool is that I had gotten for conventions, and I never took it for conventions. But I had gotten this little table that you could basically angle it to any way you want, that I got from Staples years ago, and it was like it was really good because it gave me the ability to have an angle to the desk, but at the same time still use a lot of the surface, which came in very handy, especially when I was doing a lot of coloring with the markers, and it kept the markers from basically traveling all over the place.
right. Yeah, it's like I don't have a lot of tools. I'm just like, you know, I got my ink, I got some pencils, I got triangle, French curve, blah blah blah. But I do like to spread stuff out, so I like as much surface stuff around. Like right
Right.
now, I have a kitchen table in here that's like an extra at the moment for us, that I just use to put crap on, and I cut paper on there and all kinds of stuff. But I'll use the desk I'm using at the moment for that kind of thing. It'll take up less room. Uh,
In the long run, it's always whatever works for you the best. I think that's probably why I
yeah,
haven't changed that table in so long, because it was versatile enough that when I was doing coloring, it was fine. When I was doing inking, it worked fine, and when I was penciling, it worked good. I've tried other desks over the years, and I had one for a while that basically was just didn't do it for me, and I ended up going back to the old desk.
So, when you say you're thinking about getting a standing desk, like you mean literally it's standing height, like you don't sit at it?
Yes. Is he? I've been reading other artists do that as well. Art Adams, I believe, is one of them. Tony Daniel's doing that now. It's one of those things where I haven't tried it myself, but I could see I've done it with a computer.
Right.
When I was over at DC for a hot second, using one of their computers, their computers are basically at a basically standing level. They had a chair there, but it was the computers that were used for in case anyone's visiting and they're going to need to use something real quick. And I found it was kind of fun to be able to work just standing, getting stuff done that way. And
Yeah.
I've been reading how some artists have been doing that as well, especially since we have to be sitting for so many hours. It's not really healthy for you. Uh,
Yeah. Very true.
Right. So some people have been doing things where they've been modifying their desks, and one of the things that they've done was create the standing desk. And when I used to work retail, I was standing all the time. So for me, that wouldn't be too big of a change to give that a try. So I figured because of this new desk, I can do that. And then if I get a tall enough drafting chair, or if I feel like standing too much, I can easily sit.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm so used to sitting down when I'm working. The thought of standing up all day would be kind of weird.
It's definitely weird, but I feel that it's something I want to give a try. Enough artists have said that they enjoy the way it is because they feel like they're not necessarily they're getting more done, but I think they can concentrate more on what they're working on, and it's not like, again, it's the health issue of having to be sitting all the time.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So again, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I'll give it a try. If I don't like it, at least I'll have a chair there in case.
So we had another fellow join us. Hey, Eric. If he's there yet. His face. His mic is off.
Was that Eric Webb?
He's setting up probably. So Art Adams does that, and if you've seen his work lately, he's doing all these amazing, I don't know, covers, posters. His stuff is so gorgeous.
Oh yeah, and they're huge too. I mean, to do that much detail, you have to work on a large size, you know.
Yeah.
And I do recall reading, I don't know where it was, in which interview, that he talked about he doesn't have a chair. His desk is standing, and there's been pictures of his studio, and you know, I would guess to believe so. I don't see a chair. And then again, before he took the picture, he may have removed it, but he talked about the benefits of doing it. And then also you have like John Byrne. I've seen pictures of his studio and his chair. He sits in like a modified jet chair. Like he got a chair from.
He sits in a modified jet chair.
Yes.
You are.
I have to find the pictures, but I know that he has, you know, what looks like with the buckles and stuff like that, where, you know, it's from a jet. I don't know if it's an American jet or what have you, where you buy wholesale chairs, but
That's pretty beast.
yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, don't mind me. I'm just just sitting in a freaking jet chair. Because why not?
He's in the pilot seat, you know.
Yeah. I still got the little joystick too.
Is John Byrne a pilot?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Not that you are.
No,
Okay.
so if I remember correctly, I think he said it was a gift from somebody. Again, I'm just going back to some old articles that I've read over the years, and I'm always fascinated by people's studio and their setups and the types of equipment they happen to be using. And on his, because he had photos of his studio, and it was pointed out that chair that he has is a pilot's chair.
All I can say is, I don't care what studio you have, you better have some like amazing shit to top that. Like, you better have the entire jet as your freaking office at that point.
It's the only way to top that one.
So yeah, I just happen to have like the entire like moon landing space pod as my office. It's nothing big. By the way, hello everyone. I joined.
Hello.
Yeah. Hey, Eric.
I was actually streaming, which is why I didn't get the email right away. I wasn't paying attention to my phone.
Oh, good.
No, I just figured I'd randomly invite a bunch of people and see if you want to be
I
in.
gotta make sure I do my report for today.
Yeah, I got so much of the D100 to catch on. I got half of like 40 days of Gazbot's videos to watch.
Yeah, I just watched his 100th day video.
Yeah.
I think I'm on day 23. Yeah, I think today's day 23, and I gotta make sure I write my report after this.
So
I
how's
very
it
much
going?
started when Kevin Cross restarted his. That way I could easily keep up. And just be like, okay, what video number is he on? Okay, 23. That's quick. That's the day I'm on. Because my memory. So every day I ask myself, what day was I on? Click over to his videos that day.
Did you see his post? He's gonna drop off of Facebook and Twitter for a month.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Why would he
You
do
know,
that?
he's gonna. Because I'm sure he went into it, but just to, because he said before, like, Facebook is depressing, and I could relate, like,
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm no fan of
well,
Facebook, and
just like
you know that. But
Jimone.
so is it like
Yeah,
just Facebook and Twitter, or is he like, are you talking like all kind of social media
just
stuff, like Instagram and all that too, or?
what? He was on the fence about Instagram, but he said Facebook and Twitter definitely, and he's gonna, focus, I guess, on YouTube, of course.
Really? That's
But
that's kind of brave, you know. Like you figure, like I know I'm not in love with the fact that you always have to make posts here, there, and everywhere else. But in this day and age, if you don't, I don't know. I think that could be kind of hurtful to you. You know, like you'll drop off people's radar pretty quick.
I think one of the easier things to do in that case would just be take advantage of systems that use the auto post system. Where with me,
Yeah,
I use Tumblr. I don't dig around with Twitter or Facebook. However, I have it so Tumblr automatically posts to Twitter, which automatically posts to Facebook. So
yeah, exactly.
it
You know,
connects on its own. I don't have to deal with it.
I don't know. Well, I give him credit. I'd be very curious to hear what happens with that.
yeah, for a
I
second
just
I
think
thought
from
about it
a
and was like, no, I couldn't do that.
no, because I'm just saying, like from a business standpoint, like I don't know, maybe he doesn't do a lot of business through social media, so it might not affect him at all, really. But you know, like for people that do, that'd kind of be like business suicide.
Well, he did say he's getting a Facebook app that allows him, I guess, just to get Facebook messages.
Yeah, just the mess. Yeah, I got the messenger on my phone. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, not. Well, yeah. I guess Messenger would be connected to your messages.
Yeah, because there's an app you like when you got like an Android cell phone. There's an app like a Facebook Messenger app, so you don't have to have Facebook on your phone. Like
Right.
whenever you
Right.
message me, if I'm working, it just comes up on my phone, a message from you. Like I'm not actually logged into Facebook when I'm talking to you.
Right. Okay. Um. Yeah, because that's. I mean, I do all my business, like 90% of my business, through Facebook messages.
Yeah.
That's how people reach me, and I talk to them and whatnot.
I tend to use a little bit of everything. Most of the time, um, I either get calls on the phone itself or my iPhone. Someone will message me, but I do understand sometimes actually walking away from Facebook. There are times where, if I get more work done if I don't even go to Facebook at all, but I don't know about getting off of it completely. I don't really do too much business on there. It's more for just, the social network thing, but I can see how you may want to get off of it mainly because they don't, it's not as, what's the word am I looking for? It's not like in the old days where you could post something and everybody sees it. They make it harder and harder really for people to follow you even after they made the choice of following you.
Yeah,
There's no
that's one thing I don't understand
really
about
bad at that,
Facebook.
actually.
It's become a money making thing. You have to pay to boost your posts. So even if people are following you, there's an algorithm that determines whether or not your information is, quote unquote, valuable enough.
Whether you're a top priority or not.
Right.
Really? So they're making you pay to have your
Yeah,
posts?
and so
Okay.
if you want to reach an audience, you have to give them money, and it's kind of
Oh,
a
yeah.
depressing model. I mean, it's really revolting.
Yeah, the main problem is that they haven't really figured out a way to make money. So let's charge the people who are actually using it, and when we're also the people that are creating the content in the first place. So it's
Well,
like basically,
if they're going to do stuff like that, that just means that, Twitter and Instagram are going to get that much more popular because people don't want to pay money to have their stuff seen. That's ridiculous.
Well, and
exactly.
it hasn't happened yet, but it looks like there's the possibility that Twitter is going to adopt that model. So it's
Really?
it's
Oh,
becoming it's becoming kind of evil.
yeah. No such thing as a free meal, I guess.
And there's a lot of people right now who are
uh,
battling a lot of things that the internet companies are starting to do that make no sense in an internet world, really.
Yeah.
Like, with the way the internet world works, like, they don't realize just how smart some of the people on the internet actually are. Like, obviously you get a lot of the idiots who get on, social media who don't know what the hell they're doing and don't know what they're talking about, and we all ignore them anyway. But the guys behind the scenes who are just kind of watching and just kind of chilling in the background and you don't really hear about, those are the ones you don't want to piss off.
Yeah. It's so true, though. Yeah.
Like, they will screw your company over so hard. I mean, just like teams like Anonymous and all, like, say what you want about them, but they do try to do good work at times.
Yeah. No, I agree.
for a couple of weeks, it seemed like Twitter. I was getting like emails from them and monetize your feed, monetize your Twitter account. And I'm like, what? No
And I was like,
thanks.
you keep using that word, but I do not
It's
think
like nobody cares about my posts. Anyway.
that's still one of my favorite quotes from fucking Princess Bride.
Anyone who tells you differently is trying to sell you something.
Yep.
So, Elena, is it? I don't want to mispronounce your name. I apologize if I am.
Oh, that's right.
Okay. Yeah, I've caught a couple of your videos. Because you did the 100
sorry.
days.
I'm
No,
sorry.
no, they were good. They were good, and definitely the final product you put out looked absolutely, unbelievable. But are you doing the 100 days again, or considering it?
Yeah, I'm on day 19, I think.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
I've been trying to keep up with like everyone who's doing it, but there's like so many people actually like involved with it. I'm just like, too many videos.
Yeah, you can't. It's impossible to watch everybody's videos. Yeah.
Like, I already watch like 30 videos a day of just my normal content.
I'm so grateful that most of the people who are doing it the second time around are just doing weekly updates.
Or in my case, I do blog, a post on Tumblr, and I stream every day. It's like, that's my proof. I did it live.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Is that the whole essence of it, though? Like, I mean, I haven't done it. Is that you have to prove that you did it?
Well, it's a way of holding yourself accountable for actually going through with it. It's like, hey, I can't lie. Like, basically try not to lie to yourself and to the people around you and saying, here's what I did. Here's what I put in for my 30 minutes or however much time you're putting in. And it's just a way of kind of mentally keeping yourself accountable for it, like saying, oh, I got to do that.
Right.
Once you get that kind of, I guess, schedule working through your, like, in your mind, it becomes an instant thing that you just kind of do. And I guess that just helps keep you moving. At least that's the way that's the way it works for me.
Yeah, it's really easy to push aside your own personal project when you got, a day job or so much client work coming in or hell, you just want to, go off and see a movie or play a video game or hang out with friends. We should put some time in and pick up your phone. But next week, what is it? Thursday the 12th of March, 2 p.m. I think that's Kevin's time. We're going to do a D100's Hangout. I'm not sure who we're going to get there. Maybe whoever's available. But it looks like we're going to try to do like a weekly episode hangout to get, sort of get everybody involved and maybe have different people host it. We're going to work it out as we go.
Wait another 10 minutes. All right.
That sounds like it'd be a pretty fun idea, actually. With all the people who are actually doing it right now. So.
Yeah, it's a lot of folks doing it. Not everybody has, like a big YouTube audience or audience on their blog, so I want to get the word out about,
So I'll go down.
people that are involved.
Yeah, man, whatever gets the flow working, actually. I mean, it's just a nice way of getting it out there, and especially for everyone doing it, it's a nice way of just like being in a group of people who are all working at the same time. It's just like, hey, we're all being productive today. Yay!
We did something.
We did it! We did it!
Well, I'll tell you, I only got about 3.5 hours of sleep last night, and I was kind of feeling like going to bed early, but I'm glad I logged in because now I'm drawing.
Yay!
There you go.
Stay with us.
Junkies.
I hate stairs.
Awesome. So I just saw they're doing a Supergirl
TV show.
series.
Why? Why do they have to keep doing these stupid TV shows? I mean, honestly, I'm not impressed with any of them. I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody who is.
Flash and Arrow have been really good, especially Flash. Like his actually, I like his better than Arrow's, but
I can't stand Arrow. I have no stomach for it at all.
it's okay. It's grown on me with the new seasons, but it's just my only problem is that the Oliver that they're using to me feels more like Batman than Oliver.
Yeah. Oh, I can totally see that. Yeah.
It's like, why is he all brooding and shit? Like he's supposed to be fun. He's been back for how long now off the island? I think he can have a little bit of fun now. But Flash has been amazing. I know that's my only...
Yeah, I think it's a fun show.
I like the kid they got to play Barry. Like, I feel bad about the way DC's been treating their cinematic and non-cinematic universes because of the fact that they're keeping them 100% separate. I'm like, why? You have a good actor playing Barry Allen. Do what Marvel's doing. Marvel's doing a great job at having their TV and cinematic universes together. It's like, that'd be cool.
Do you think Marvel's going to connect what they got going on now with what they're going to have on Netflix at all?
We'll see. It depends on, like, are you talking about the Daredevil thing?
Daredevil and Defenders,
Is it Marvel Studios that's doing those?
They're involved.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's not involved, no
they
problem.
own the property to it. It's just they're. The thing is, they're. I think the whole reason that they're doing it on Netflix, and even if you see the trailer for the show, is because it not being broadcast television, they can make it a lot more of a dark, kind of gritty show that they couldn't do on broadcast television.
Yeah. And I mean, because it's still with that company, like it's still them doing it. I have faith that they're at least going to try and put some good work into it, and it could be considered canon to their, their cinematic universe.
Yeah.
The other thing, they're not also restricted by TV rules, so to speak, where they could tell a story. They don't have to worry about it being shown again out of order. I've read many times about how a series will start. Let's take something like Star Trek, where they'll have a larger story going on, but they're also restricted by certain things because you never know what order the shows are going to be shown. So there's always that kind of rule at the end that you could do whatever you want in that episode, but at the end, everybody has to be on the bridge as they float off to the next adventure. So we can't really have anything change too drastically.
Right.
All of a sudden, you come into another episode, and you're just like, "What the fuck's going on?"
Right, and that's the problem with TV shows, because when networks buy, not to say buy the rights, but buy the showing rights, you never know what episodes you're going to get, or more likely in what order you're going to get them in.
Yeah, that always annoys me, especially when they do play them like they play a bunch of them in a row. But
Right.
they're out of order, and you're like, oh my god, how long does it take you to figure out, okay, this episode first, then this one, and then this one?
Mm-hmm. It's like if you ever watch like Buffy or Angel, where they'll go to commercials in weird spots, and yet the people who produced those shows had made spots where you can cut to commercial, and it wouldn't disrupt the rhythm of the show.
Right.
But the studios would play whatever order they wanted to play it and put the commercials wherever they wanted to. So you're stuck with you not knowing who's going to get these tapes, so to speak, after it airs.
Right.
Yep.
I find that the Netflix model very interesting, to basically release everything in one shot, and then you could just watch it at your leisure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Plus, it would be nice.
they seem to be the growing.
Sorry, say that again, Peter. You kind of
like,
broke up there.
buying- They seem to be like the growing TV studio. They're buying shows left and right, and
Yeah, well, like
expanding their.
It's like we were just saying, like they don't have the restrictions. Like the content that they can show, they can be much more graphic if they want to be, which in some cases, a show or a movie really kind of calls for it.
Especially in the sense like what they're doing here with Daredevil. It's like, yeah, you can be a little bit more gritty with that.
Yeah, like because the trailer for the show, it very interesting trailer. It looks like it's going to be a really kind of dark show. Like I'm actually curious to see that one.
And it fits. I mean, it makes sense. It's like, hey, this is Daredevil. It's not supposed to be all happy sunshine moments.
Yeah, exactly. He's not cracking jokes with people,
He lives in a shit neighborhood. Like, let's be real here. There's a reason why they call it Hell's Kitchen. I was wondering, like, have they shown? Are they gonna have the Kingpin and who? Like, have they shown who he's gonna who's playing him?
You know what? There was something on that. I can't remember who it was though.
Like, who the hell are they gonna get to play Fisk?
Kingpin's being played by that actor from Criminal Intent, detective.
Oh, Vincent D'Onofrio.
Vincent D'Onofrio. Yeah, I couldn't recall his name.
Yeah.
Vincent D'Onofrio?
Yes,
Yeah.
he's playing the Kingpin.
That guy?
Yeah. Yeah, they had a picture of him. Like, he shaved his head bald. He's put on a lot of weight. it looks pretty good actually.
Is Wilson Fisk on? Wow, that's surprising. Actually, I thought they were gonna get somebody like who's like just naturally a big dude, because Kingpin's an imposing motherfucker. I mean, he's huge. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they pull it.
Yeah, see what happens.
I mean, he's good at playing like Psycho, so.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's kind of a weird dude.
Yeah.
I always try to remember, which Law and Order was he on?
Criminal Intent.
Yeah, he was always an interesting guy. I mean, hell, he played a fucking alien in Men in Black, so why not?
He played a semi-Thor in Adventures in Babysitting. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that and seeing what they do with that.
Yeah, I'm hearing that. Yeah, that'd be interesting to see. What if they're gonna have a lecture?
I'm excited to see like Daredevil done good, but also Power Man and Iron Fist. How cool is that?
What characters?
Power Man and Iron Fist.
Oh yeah, I heard Power Man's gonna be on a show.
Yeah.
I mean, I was surprised they didn't make something for him like a little while ago. Like, he's a very popular comic character. Well, he's prominent in even Marvel Heroes. Like, I see him all the time when I play that game. It's like, hey, Power Man.
I always thought it was weird that they never did a Power Man and Iron Fist TV show, considering you didn't have to do all that much with their powers.
Yeah, Power Man is really just stupid strong and stupid durable.
Exactly. So you figure if you were going to do a show going for the cheap, so to speak, especially if you didn't have to pay such an amount of money on special effects and what have you, you could have got away with a Power Man Iron Fist in the 80s. You didn't really need to go all that far with the price of the powers. And there are a bunch of characters like that they could have done some time ago, and they just never approached it.
Yeah, it just seems like it's like right there. Like, no one saw how in your face that would have been. Like, dude, do this.
Yeah, considering, even with the limited amount of budget that they had at the time, the Spider-Man TV show wasn't awful. It wasn't great, but it wasn't awful. And it's like, why couldn't they, they had him always fighting thugs and whatnot. You couldn't make a Kingpin for that show? That I always found weird. That it was like, just get a fat guy and you could have made a Kingpin. If you could have a bionic Bigfoot in the Bionic Man, you could have had a Kingpin.
Yeah, really. All you need is kind of a, buff, chunky guy.
Oh, yeah.
John Goodman.
Maybe. Definitely big enough for it.
Hell, you could have had Telly. If we're talking about the '70s Spider-Man show, you could have had Telly Savalas, but he would have been too big of an actor.
Literally. I thought it was like even in the Daredevil movie that they had made, like, I just thought it was kind of fun. Like, even they got it relatively right. I mean, yeah, Ben Affleck's not the greatest actor, but at least he did a decent job playing Daredevil itself. And Michael Clark Duncan did a decent Kingpin.
Yeah.
Like, he was believable. I mean, as much as I'm one of those guys, like, I'm weird when it comes to characters' portrayal on TV. So I was a little like, but with, the fact that, they had a little bit of race bending there, but I was like, I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to let it slip. And it worked. I was like, Michael Clark Duncan, you can play him anytime. Well, you can't anymore, but...
Not anymore, but he did a pretty good job. And the funny thing with Daredevil is, like, I went back to it and saw the director's cut, and it was a far better movie than what we got to see in the theaters. So it's like, it's interesting to see something that's like, I kind of had, not a bad memory of it, but it was like, it was what it was. But it turned out to be, like, the director cut a far superior movie where it's like, wow, I would have liked to seen this on the screen.
Yeah, it seems to happen a lot though, because even with the Watchmen movie, when you watch the extended director's cut, where it actually has a lot of extra scenes that were from the comic, like
Right.
the part where the kid's actually reading the comic and you get that nice little animated sequence. I was like, dude, that would have been awesome to have in the fucking movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why did that get cut out?
The director's cut sucks.
What did you say?
I said, if you watch that movie without the director's cut, it sucks. It's a terrible cut. The edit on it is really bad. The story is incomplete. They remove key conversations that were just, people talking, so God forbid they weren't exciting.
Yeah.
But this story doesn't make sense without them.
And the thing with Watchmen too is, it was so weird because they cut out a good bit of stuff, but at the same time, they kind of added some length to some scenes that really should not have been lengthened. Like when Owlman and Silk Spectre were in their pod and they were like basically screwing each other for like, how long was that scene in the movie?
As long as it takes for Leonard Cohen to sing.
Yeah, apparently. It's just like, this was like a couple panels, people. Like, why are we emphasizing this?
Well, that's what I mean. It's like they cut the dialogue and a lot of the explication of what was important about the story, but they left in the sex and the violence, which is not what that story is about. It's a bad cut. It's a bad cut.
I mean, I get why they changed the ending, because even Alan Moore was sitting there like, dude, I created that ending when I was like a kid. But, still, making Dr. Manhattan the scapegoat there was just like, it was obvious, so, Like, the whole time I'm watching this movie, I'm like, they're not going to do the giant alien octopus thing, are they? Like, I'm like, there's no way they've got that kind of balls to go through with that. And then they did, and I was like, prove me right, okay. Although I gotta say, if they had gone through with the alien octopus thing, I probably would have cheered them for that, because that would have been awesome to see that they would, go through with that. Also, they kind of messed with the ending again because they left it not quite as ambiguous as the comic book ends because of how Owlman kind of responds to Ozymandias.
It's been so long since I watched it. Gotta watch it again.
Yeah.
It's been even longer since I read the book. I don't even think I ever finished it.
Oh yeah, I read the book.
Think about it.
When I heard the movie was a thing, I was like, okay, I know it's a comic book first, so I'm reading the comic book.
I didn't read the book when it first came out. I remember when it came out, and I remember getting the trade paperback of it. And I always read the beginning of it, but I never finished it. It was like one of those things like, man, this is long.
Yeah, it's a long book.
Yeah. I think it would have been better for me if I read it as individual books as they came out, so I had to have that 30-day buffer in between.
You needed the 30 days to kind of let your mind kind of take in what the fuck you just read.
Pretty much, because back then, I would read a book 3 or 4 times, before I end up putting it away. But that one, I know I bought a couple of issues here and there, and it was like, oh, this series already started, I'll pick it up later. And then when I picked up the trade paperback, I know I kept reading that same 4 or 5, definitely that first book. I've read it so many times, it's like I don't even want to read it when I pick up that graphic novel to look at it. And it's like, well, I read this part. too many times.
Yeah. Yeah,
I never read.
like a lot of Alan Moore's stuff is not easy to read, especially the first time. Like it does take you maybe like a second reading to kind of get through it and understand everything that he did.
Right.
But it's definitely one of those things that it's when you're done reading it, you're like, wow, that was worth the extra time. Even though my brain kind of hurts right now.
Kind of reminds me of like Don McGregor. Like there'll be regular comic pages, regular dialogue, narration, whatever, and then there'll be pages where it's just wall-to-wall text, like going off into some history of the character or something.
Well, it's kind of like if you ever read, I love the movie, but I love the comic for V for Vendetta more. Like V for Vendetta was fucking amazing. But man, it took me like 3 read-throughs to get through all the information.
Yeah, I didn't read that one either.
It's a bit of a chore, but it's worth it when you do get through it and kind of go, okay, I finally get what the fuck was going on. Because the exposition is just in your face, like, we don't care, we know you're going to put the extra time into reading this, have fun. God, I've been working on this one panel for like 3 hours now. I hate backgrounds. Because I had to like create like this weird alien planet by using, but it's like it's hard for me to create an alien planet because it's like, okay, I'm just gonna go with what I know, and then like, oh wait, this looks too much like Earth. Let me add like an eyeball-looking plant thing or something. So I'm just like adding random shit that you wouldn't see on Earth. Haven't even worked on any other panels.
Just do what Kirby did. Make it all up.
Just make shit up as you go along.
And then do what one of his inkers did after 3 hours, just erase it even if you didn't finish.
Yeah, really. I felt bad for any of his fucking inkers, man. They get his pencils, and for one, he didn't sketch anything. Like, he just straight up went right to final pencils. And now this poor inker has to sit here and look at this unbelievable, crazy the hell it was, and like try to make sense of it. And
Well,
not,
like I said, one of his inkers was famous for, he'll spend exactly 3 hours on the page, and if whatever wasn't done would just get erased.
yeah, really. And you never lost anything, really, because there was so much extra content there that didn't really need to be there. It's just like, well, you didn't lose anything. Like, everything I
inked
erased...
a couple of pages of Cable when Landrone was penciling it.
Right.
And that was when he was mostly Kirby. He had a little Mobius in him.
Right.
But yeah, it was confusing as hell. It was like I had no idea what I was looking at, and then it was like, oh, okay, now it makes sense.
I always found it interesting looking at his originals, still speaking about Ladrone, and they would be an item in the background, whatever it was, a coffee maker, what have you, and he would have like a name and serial number to it right next to it. I don't know if you ever seen those on his pages. I think it was the when he did that Spider-Boy Legion amalgam book. Everything in the room was like a computer item, and then there would be written really tiny next to it what was like the name of that computer thing.
That's funny.
And then the inker just goes in and says, he doesn't expect me to ink that part, does he? Like,
Yeah, I would have inked that too. So, I watched your airbrushing basics video, Jay.
Oh, yeah? What'd you think?
It was good. It's like I may never, do airbrushing myself, but I just wanted to check it out. And, you give really good instruction, and,
Yeah, well, like I
it's
say,
just,
I get a lot of people asking me just, like the basic questions. And there's another guy in the Artcasters group. What's his name? Stephen Hall. He had been
right.
messaging me for a couple of days, asking me about some stuff with his airbrush because it wasn't working right and whatnot. So I kind of figured, well, no time like the present. I might as well do a little video on just how to make that thing actually work.
I thought it was good.
Cool.
Music time. I never
So,
turn my
Peter,
music off from the stream.
how's the? I haven't looked in on it at all, to be honest. But how's the Kickstarter going for that into days? Is there any action on that yet?
How's my cat?
No, the Kickstarter for the end of days.
Oh, end of days. Oh, has the Kickstarter?
Yeah, how's it going?
It's just under 1,500 funded.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
It's going for a goal of 5,600. So it's got a ways to go.
Yeah, well, that's a good start though, because it's only been a few days, right? Like,
yeah, it's definitely a good start. I think today actually, I don't think anyone pledged today, which is surprising. But hoping maybe get some action this weekend. I know I have some stuff planned to promote it. To maybe some people that don't know aware of it. But yes, so far so good, and really hope it gets fully funded, and because we got plans above and beyond that. So.
yeah.
I swear, ever since I watched Guardian of the Galaxy, like, I play the freaking audio tape from that fucking movie over and over again.
It had really good music.
Yep, I have the awesome mix.
Yeah. What?
That was probably the best example of a comic book movie done, like, perfect to the way you expect comic books, you know?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
That's when you, like, start going to these movie companies and go, see? You can make a true, goofy comic book movie. Because let's face it, comic books are weird. And then you have these people trying to make these like overly serious and dark, gritty movies, and you look at this, and then when people like go to the actual comic book that it's based off of, and they're like, "This is a bit weirder than I expected."
I always find that the more realistic you put it into, the more flaws you can find.
Yeah.
It's like that just doesn't, that's just weird. That does not work.
Because the moment
like,
you put caution to the wind and just say, "Let's just make a goofy movie,"
yeah,
you can just explain everything by saying, fuck it, it's a comic book.
Exactly. I think
Doesn't
people
have to make
forget.
sense.
I mean, look at the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, especially the first one. It opens up as a comic book. You know, they show you the comic book. They show you the cover, and they turn the page, and boom, you know what you're in for. So you sit there and you totally accept everything that happens. Even in the second movie where he pulls the insignia off his chest and throws it, you sit there and go, all right, that just happened.
Yep, you just sit through it and accept it.
Yeah, you just sit there like, they never did that in the comic book, but yeah, whatever.
And then you see how flawed it can be when a movie like Man of Steel tries to like pull off the similar storyline, but in a more serious manner, and you're just like, I don't believe a damn thing that's going on here.
Yeah.
It's like, no, don't save me from this tornado, my son. I must sacrifice my son. I'm like, really? Really? Like, you couldn't have just had your son, the superpowered monster guy who could not be hurt, save the dog. Like, come on, Mr. Kent. Worst Mr. Kent ever.
Exactly. Because it's like a bunch of strangers are standing there. They're looking at the tornado. They're not looking at the guy.
Yeah, and even if they saw you go in and get hit by the thing, you could have just explained it. Oh, the car, like one of these cars got locked down and like saved me or something like that. Come on.
Yeah, there was so many different ways you could have just saved the guy, disappear, super speed, and no one would have been the wiser.
Yeah, it's like there's just so many things wrong with that fucking movie, and it's just it aggravates me. It's the same, like, as much as people praise the Nolan films, like the Batman Nolan films,
I don't praise those.
I just watch them, I'm just like, this isn't the Batman I want, though. Like, Christian Bale, okay, you did a decent job, although stop with that stupid voice, it's getting on my nerves.
The voice was annoying. What annoyed me more is when you really sit down and yes, it was interesting. They had a ton of cool stuff with it. But the weird thing about it is that how long was he Batman truly for? Three different little adventures, and that's it. He wasn't that great of a Batman.
No.
You know?
And whoever told him that the way you do fight choreography is by like having the camera whizzing its fucking mind out while he's moving around, no. That is vomit-inducing.
That's a result of the limitations of the costume. They had to shoot it that way because they couldn't get realistic fight choreography in a rubber suit.
And that's the problem and that's one of the biggest problems to me with doing Batman live action. They're having so many limitations with the costume that they're trying to over-complicate the costume itself to make it look believable, that they're sacrificing way too much.
Yeah, ever since they wanted to make it like this bulletproof thing, and it's like, it worked fine for Adam West. He had a bat shield. That's all you need.
Hell, for the longest time in the comic books, the only thing Batman ever wore was underneath of his costume, he had a thin layer of Kevlar to protect him against knives, and he had certain spots of his body with heavier Kevlar to take bullets.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like if he was that good, he wouldn't have to worry about the bullets.
Exactly. And let's face it, most of these goons were terrible fucking shots anyway, so he didn't have much to worry about. Shoot 100 bullets, hit nothing.
Okay. My comic book talk. Well, the reason I brought up Supergirl before, way back when, is they released her costume, which looks very much like Man of Steel.
It looks horrible. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't mind it all that much when I saw it. I guess because I've seen worse. Color-wise, it could definitely have been brighter. Which is what was wrong with the Man of Steel costume anyway.
Yeah, it's like, oh, the symbol of hope, the symbol of, being a great person, and then it's like, man, your costume is dark as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you lighten up, man?
It's like, that worked for Batman. You don't do it for
I don't
Superman.
know. I didn't mind the costume so much in Man of Steel um, I'm taking Man of Steel as a movie unto itself, and not expecting the Superman from the comic to be in that movie. Um, so while my first impression of Supergirl is like, yeah, it's kind of really dark when the show starts. Really don't know anything about it, what they have planned.
I don't know. There's so many iterations of these characters. None of this bothers me. I find it endlessly fascinating how nitpicky people are, and how outraged they
Yeah.
get. But it's not my Batman or whatever. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but Batman's 75 years old, and he's been in every permutation you can imagine: silly, serious, obnoxious, horrible, evil, funny. It's like there's one more.
Yeah,
Here's
that's
another
very true.
Supergirl. It's all interpretation. It's all adaptation. I think it's one of the great things about comics is that there's something for everybody.
I know now that I'm getting older, I'm letting a lot more of that stuff go. Where it's like when I was younger, I always argued about it. Oh, they're making this wrong, they're making that wrong. And then once I realized, and I think it's because the newest Ninja Turtles did it for me, where it's like, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to go watch it. And it's like, it was fun. It definitely wasn't my Turtles. But, to me, it's like, all right, fine. And what's weird about it, too, is like I'm enjoying the Nickelodeon Ninja Turtles a whole lot more than any other incarnation. And when I sat down to watch it, I felt like I shouldn't like this at all. And for some reason, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I think it is part of it is a function of age. I mean, I'm old, so I grew up with '66 Batman. I grew up reading, Marshall Rogers and O'Neill and those. I've seen that progression. So it's sort of like whatever. you know, doesn't bother me.
Mhm. Yeah, I liked the new Batman movies myself. They weren't perfect. I really like the middle one, Dark Knight, the best. Um, I guess it surprised me that I liked the Joker so much in it. Just after seeing pictures of him, I don't judge by pictures. That's the thing. It's like I saw a picture of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, and it's like, oh, that's awful. But watch the movie, and it works so well in motion. Um, it's you can't.
Yeah, I
It's
could
like,
definitely agree on
why did you
on
see
the
it?
pictures because the last set of Spider-Man films, starting with that new movie, the that costume was so bad. And as I'm watching the movie, you kind of forget how bad it is, and it's like, oh, okay, so the movie made it a lot better. And then the second movie had definitely a better costume. So yeah, like I currently do not like this new Batman costume, and it's mainly because of the photo that they gave us. It's like what people have been calling sad Batman, and it's just a photo just taken out of content, with Affleck in it. And it's like I just don't like the way it looks, and it's because of the photo itself, not necessarily the costume.
Yeah, I hate it. But then I hate Ben Affleck too, so it doesn't help.
I don't have too much problem with Ben Affleck, but I'm trying to hold back anything to it because he looked good. Like when I saw the photo, I was like, he looked good, and that was important to me.
Did you finalize a name for your character there, Eric?
He looks like sad Batman.
For what character? I actually have to bail. It's D&D night, so I completely forgot that it was D&D night.
All right, Eric. Well, thanks for coming out, man, and
Yeah, thanks for having me.
tell us where people can find you.
Basically with me, it's just because I'm on the V100's Facebook thing. I'm in that group, and I always link to my Tumblr, which is my main source anyway. So that's the biggest place to find anything I do. But yeah, I gotta bail
So
quickly
you
because they're actually about to start. So my bad.
Okay.
I will be more conversing next time.
All right, cool, man.
See you guys later.
Just get a message from hey, puppy is sick, so he had a bail. Hope he gets better. Pets that are sick are not fun. So what else is going on with everyone?
Not much. Like I said earlier, just been working on a bunch of little projects here and there. This is the first time I've actually worked on my own thing in a while. And it's funny because I haven't looked at these pages in a good amount of time, and part of me is like, I think I want to redraw them instead of just working on what I have here. But then if I do that, I'll never get the project done.
Yeah.
I think the main thing that bugs me is the way the inks came out on this one, only because it was inked so long ago, and again, it's the guy who inked it is a better inker now, but at the time he was good too. But I've seen enough of his inks to know that it looks like he might have just called these in. Didn't spend too much time on them. So part of me is like, I want to just re-ink the whole thing. And again, it's like, just let it go. The next issue will look so much better because it's been done more recently, so to speak.
Right. That was Scott Williams.
What was that?
That was Scott Williams, ain't that?
No. Some newcomer named Jim Lee. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
The pages are old enough for that, but no. Yeah, I drew these while I was still at Marvel.
Well, you were up at Marvel?
When I was up at Marvel, I drew these
Yeah.
pages that's on my computer screen right now.
Yeah.
Or just after I left Marvel is when I drew these. But again, it's one of those things like being that it's my own project, I never have time for it because I'm doing, all the regular work, all the paid work, so to speak, to just to pay the bills. And then when I have quote unquote free time, which no one ever does, then I get to work on my own pages.
Yeah. Well, having a comic career is like really frustrating. I'm all over the place, and I have only myself to blame. Because you're not working enough, trying to juggle a lot. I'm probably you know, I was good at one time, but I fell into a bad place taking commissions. There's a lot of regrets, you know, schedule wise and whatnot. And I really want to get things straight and in order. A lot of that is life getting in the way, and you know, really from the year 1999 to today, I don't know. I moved like 20 or 30 times. I've lost count, and that doesn't help. Uh, but I just, you know, I am making my mission to get everything straight. You know, there's something things like you know, ideas you have for projects and maybe start on and never went anywhere with. You know, there's probably some stuff I'll just put to bed. But things I've started with other people or things I said I would accomplish and blah blah blah. It's like I really just, you know, I'm tired of the condition of my, you know, workload and just really want to, you know, especially like, yeah, like I'm the same like with you. You know, I put some of my personal projects to the side because yeah, they're not bringing money, but with what you can do today to get things funded, um, there's really no reason you could put a little extra time in it and just like throw it up on Kickstarter and get the book out of the way. Which is what I want to do. Like with retro, it's like the thing's almost penciled. I gotta ink it and script it, but you know, and then get colored and blah blah blah. But it's, you know, for all the work I've done since, you know, page one of that was started, I could have already been done with it.
Yeah, it's weird how, you know, in the sense of there's that. I felt when I was younger, I had more time to really put into my art, and then once I started, I guess to say once I started getting paid for it, um, I realized that it's almost like not having the same amount of time, so to speak. Because I remember as a kid drawing for hours and not
Yeah.
feeling like I did a lot of work. And then now it's like time. It's like, oh, I got to squeeze in time here, squeeze in time there. Um, when I put out my first issue, there was a gap in between the time I started drawing it and the time I published it, and it was basically one of those things where it's like, oh, you know, we could publish it this year. I just got to do this, this, and that. And when I realized how quickly these little things were, and in the back of my mind, it's like, oh, I have to fix. I think I had to fix like 4 to 10 items, little things here and there in the book, and I had to open up the pages and it's like, okay, let me fix this. This will probably take me about 3 hours to do. Oh, I'm done. And it didn't take 3 hours, it took 20 minutes. And I realized, oh, you know, back then when I first started the project, I didn't know a lot of the computer stuff that I know now. So the weird thing was,
Yeah.
it's like I open up, it's like, okay, I know I have to fix the following items on this page, so this should probably take 2 or 3 hours. No, it was done in 20 minutes. So what I thought was going to take about a week to do probably took about a day or two, and it's like, oh my God, this is done. You know, I'm ready to go to print. All I got to do is just set up 1 or 2 things and I would be done. And it was just kind of funny. It was like, oh, that's it? That's all that had to be done on this? And when I first started it, I figured it's going to take months to do. And I guess because I was working on so many other projects and learned so many different shortcuts, so many new things with the computers, that once I opened it up and it's like, okay, I'm done. I'm ready. This is already, you know, finished.
Yeah.
I've certainly found as a motivator, Peter, you know, I went through the first 100 days, you know, and I knew that, okay, I've been working on this for 100 days, but now I've got there's no accountability anymore. You know, the 100 days are over. I worked through them. And that was why I went ahead and launched the Kickstarter in October, because I knew that if I had a Kickstarter and it was funded, I would have to keep working. This book is going to get
Right.
finished because, you know, it has to.
Just FYI, this is Gazbot. I joined
Yeah.
the call. Or chat, whatever you call it.
Oh no! Hey man, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Hopefully, I didn't come too late to miss all the good chats.
A lot of nerd talk.
As expected.
As expected. Well, let people know who you are and where they can find you.
Well, for those who
Gaz?
don't know, I'm Gazbot on YouTube, and that's also my webpage, and that's on most social media. I'm Gazbot or Gazbottle or Bomb if Bot was not available. And I just finished my 100 days of making comics, working on my book, The Horror A4.
Woo!
Yeah! And right now I'm just working on my March of the Robots for today that I haven't done yet.
So did that start this year? I never heard of it.
I know it was going on last year, but I found out about it after it had started, and I was kind of bummed because I wanted to do it. And I'm not 100% sure who started it. There's an artist named David White who's also he makes toys as well, robot toys. It's called Mechazone, I think. And so I followed him on Instagram, and I kind of saw him doing it. So I don't know for sure. I don't know that he's the Kevin Cross of it, but he's the only person I saw doing it originally. So then I
Right.
jumped on it this year. But it's just, as far as I know, there's like no website or anything. It's just like a hashtag collection.
And
Right.
what is it? I'm not familiar with it.
It's exactly what it sounds like. March of Robots it's kind of like Inktober. Every day in March, you draw a robot and post it up on Instagram and wherever else, and then you hashtag it March of Robots.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you don't like drawing robots, it's not for you. But if you do,
But
that
you
was
do much of something else. Then.
yeah. But that was, I mean, I wanted to do it because it's robots and stuff, but I also wanted to make sure I would keep in the groove of doing something every day once my 100 days stopped. So, not that I'm not going to work on my comic, but like you guys were talking about accountability and stuff, it's like just it makes sure that I'm working on something other than client work. Even if I do slip a little on my comic or whatever, I at least got to do one of these every day.
Well,
Right.
that's cool.
Yeah.
And I do
Yeah,
enjoy robots.
Yeah. I mean,
I
some
love
people.
robots, but every time I sit down and draw them, they look like crap.
Well, maybe you just need to draw poo robots. I mean, also, robot can mean a lot of things. Like, the one I did yesterday was the robot dog from Battlestar Galactica, Muffet. So it's one of
Yeah.
those things where like that barely even looks like a robot. It's like furry and like an animal. So if you're not into like the typical looking robot, you can find a way around it.
Mm.
Or just draw something completely different.
No, I think it's pretty cool. It's
Yeah, I'm digging it. I'm just worried because I'm leaving in a few days to leave the country for 2 weeks, and my intent is to keep it up, but I don't know if I'll have the time, or even if I do, how I'll be able to upload it and stuff. So I might suddenly stop halfway through, unfortunately.
Oh, are you going to do videos when you're in Japan?
I am going to film videos for sure, but I'm betting that I won't be putting them up until after I get back. So it'll probably be like I'll be dark
Okay.
for a few weeks, and then all of a sudden there'll be a ton of stuff going up after I get back.
Wow, he's really busy this week.
Yeah, that's what I anticipate happening.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
That's
But,
awesome.
I would be remiss if I didn't take a lot of cool videos while I was there. Especially because one of the things I'm doing is going to Anime Japan, which is sort of their equivalent of San Diego Comic-Con. So I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of awesome
Right.
stuff there. for the nerd folk that might want to see that.
I've heard so many good things about Comic Cons in Japan that it's amazing. That's definitely one of those things that is on my list to do. To get out there one of these days.
I've never been. I've wanted to go forever. I'm going with my wife. She wants to go as well. She's a big nerd too. And when we were planning it, and we've been planning it like forever, you know. But when we were actually like, okay, what date are we going to go? That was one of the deciding factors that we said, oh well, if we go in this time period, we can actually go to Anime Japan. So let's do that, you know. So it's not the only thing we're doing on our trip, but it definitely helped us pick the date, you know.
Right. Are you going to display it, or are you just going as a fan?
No, just going as a fan. I wouldn't even know how to display. Like, it was hard enough. The only reason we were able to get tickets is because she has a coworker that lives in Japan, and like I found it extremely difficult to plan the vacation. Anything beyond like, oh, I want to join a group that you know you get 3 days in this hotel and then they take you on a tour, like that kind of standard stuff people do you could do.
Yeah.
But anything outside of the normal tourist box, like. I don't know. There's not a lot of English sites, and they don't seem to want to like promote it very much. You know, like I had to go through a lot of third-party people to buy tickets and stuff that wouldn't sell like out of country. And so like for Anime Japan, there was no way for me to buy them except by going through somebody who living in Japan. So getting a table, I couldn't even imagine how I would do that.
I just set up a table outside and
yeah, just buy a card table. How come two of us have little green arrows on our icons and the other two don't? What does that mean?
I'm not sure.
Like,
Maybe
yeah,
to switch the windows we're on, because I'm sharing my screen.
Me too.
That might be part of that.
Yeah, I have it to share Photoshop, but it's not. Yeah, I don't know. Let me see if I press it. Oh, look, now it's me. It gives us manual control, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Why did it shouldn't do that? Shouldn't it switch every time somebody talks?
what is it not doing?
Well, see, it switched to you when you talked.
It usually goes to whoever's talking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's usually how I see it.
Okay. Yeah, but it looks like it doesn't switch to me unless I press this button, and now it's on me. Now somebody else talk.
Hello, hello.
See, now when I press that button, it locks it to me. That's
Yeah.
weird. But if I don't press it, then it doesn't go to me. So it's all or nothing for Gazbot. That's weird. So you guys been on for like an hour and a half already?
Something like that. I don't see a time thing on mine.
11.
Are you all East Coast peoples?
I'm in the Midwest.
Oh, okay.
I'm East Coast. I'm in New York.
Oh, I
Yeah,
guess it's not,
You have the exact same
Same
accent as my
treatment.
buddy Tony, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, kind of like, I don't know if it's Brooklyn or whatever, but like Italian from New York. Are you Italian?
No, I'm Puerto Rican, actually.
Oh my god. Well, you're still from New York, so.
But New Yorker, so it's
Yeah, yeah.
You should hear my sister. She
Well,
actually sounds like
Wilson's very Italian.
Bugs Bunny, so it's the
Oh, then, yeah, what's up? The kind of like.
yeah, kind of Brooklyn Bronx accent. That no idea how that showed up.
Yeah, I'm originally from New Jersey, but I'm out in
Oh,
California
okay.
now.
Mhm.
That's weird. Oh,
Yeah, it was weird. Yesterday was the first day I didn't have to do a video in like over 3 months, and it like all day I was out with some friends from out of town, and we were up in the city and doing stuff, and all day I kept thinking, oh, when I get home, I'm gonna have to. And I'm like, do nothing. I don't have to do anything. The power.
It is such a relief.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I'm glad I did it, and I'm proud and everything. But yeah, it was, especially with the way I did my videos. It was like probably an extra hour a day to do those videos,
I imagine.
So there were some days when I probably would have drawn more, but I'm like, I'm gonna just spend an hour making that video, so I better wrap it up.
Yeah.
That really is the dilemma. I'm bad at making videos to begin with, let alone to take away time from drawing to do it.
Yeah, well, and they don't have to. I mean, you can just sit there, talk to the camera for 5 minutes, and be done. But if you get ambitious, like I tried to be, then it starts adding up fast. And I've said before, I think if I did it again, like a lot of people just do the once a week thing or whatever. And if I do go for a second round, I don't think I'll do the every day. It's too much. Especially now that I proved I could do it, I have like nothing to prove anymore,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't made one yet, but between just the regular work and then I do a couple of podcasts, I do not know much about the video stuff. I mean, I've done a couple of videos, but usually I'm not the one having to worry about editing it and stuff like that. And if I do one of these, I know I'm going to be sitting there doing it, and it's like, I don't know what I want to do yet.
Right.
Talk about yet.
Well, knowing content is a different thing, but I'll tell you, I mean, I didn't really do videos before it. I mean, I had thrown a couple random things on YouTube, but it was just like, oh, I filmed myself saying something dumb to my friend on my iPhone and threw it up, But
Right.
I pretty much, learned, not that I'm an expert or anything, but I learned everything I know while I was doing it. And all the editing I did, I have a Windows, so I just use like Windows Movie Maker, which is, I'm sure if you're on a Mac, they have like iMovie or whatever.
Right.
And it takes up time, but like once I got in the groove, it was sort of like I did kind of the same thing each time. It was almost like a format, I mean, it still took time, but it was, I don't consider myself a very technical person, and I picked it up pretty quick.
Mm.
But again, not necessary.
Who knows? Maybe someday you'll get hired from some TV station.
To edit their shows? I hope not. I don't really want that job. I mean, if it paid well, I guess I'd take it, but meanwhile, there's somebody out there that's like, I would love to be an editor for television. Shut your mouth.
What I went to school for.
Yeah. And I get that, so you don't want me taking a job you want then, right? So.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a crazy business.
I don't know if there was even another kind of business.
Wow, man.
So, Peter, I'm bummed my Kakaida piece hasn't been selling, but I did buy a shirt from Kevin, so you and him got a little bit of cash out of me, one way or the other.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know. I tried to share everything that was posted, and I don't think any of it was going anywhere.
Yeah, and I put no reserve or anything. I put it up for 99 cents. And people just hate me. But I haven't had great luck selling art on eBay. I was gonna say.
It's really tough to sell art on eBay. It's something you got to build up, and I mean, I got a piece, the double piece I did up there, and it's gotten a lot of views. It's gotten like 300 views, and 3 watchers, but no bids.
Yeah, I've had a couple watchers.
I put it up to 50.
My theory is that the watchers are other artists looking to see if it's going to sell.
Yes. I've actually had watch items to see if they sell, and then I can go, all right, if it sold for that much, I know my piece can sell for this much.
Yes, yeah. And I have a decent eBay profile, but it's from buying and selling toys, so that doesn't really help my art profile.
Oh, okay.
Right,
I'm going to step away for just 1 second. I'll be right back.
Have fun.
All right.
And not that it's
No.
not that it's on the same scale, but when the Stan Sakai project was going on, you familiar with that? It was the charity to help him with his wife's bills and stuff. Well, anyway,
yeah.
okay, yeah. So I did a piece for that, and it sold for a decent amount of money, but I think it was partially because, Cap Society had set up, well, A, they were promoting it everywhere, that there was an auction, and then B, they had, one, it was like the Cap's auction name on eBay, that if you went there, everything there was a piece of art or whatever for the charity. So people would go and browse, oh, I want to help, and then they would just browse all the things available, as opposed to, But I don't know how you would we're not, you're not like a big company or something that you could do that. So I don't. But it definitely was a thing where
No,
right. I don't know how to accomplish that in this situation, but if there's a way, last time I feel like the piece wasn't any better than this piece.
Well,
it wasn't even in color.
Just based on his name alone, I mean, he's a huge name, and people may know me, but I'm not like somebody people seek out per se.
Right.
Well,
go light a fire thing. We'll know who you are. And be like, yeah, and he needs help. That guy that burned down the school, remember him? You know why he did that? For cats.
He really made a name for himself. Now he's in jail.
Maybe if there was one less human in your house, they'd let you have more cats in there.
I'm back.
I'll just sleep in the
Welcome.
back. Yeah.
We still talking about selling art on
just talking
eBay?
about you.
We still talking about selling art on eBay, or
we could be done with that if you want.
No. I've just I've done okay on eBay, but I really started off selling just my comic stuff and toys, and then art.
Like comics you created, or comics like Spider-Man comics?
Marvel comics and whatnot.
Okay.
Stuff that I've collected.
Right.
Past 30 years of acquiring stuff. So I mean, I've been on eBay for years, but only the last year I've been more active selling things, and then also do sell my own stuff. Starting with the sketch cards that I would get back from various companies, and then artwork that I've worked on,
Right.
And what have you.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, I guess, before you went away, is that I mostly will sell, like you're saying, like toys and comics, like that I didn't work on, just like collectible stuff. And occasionally I've tried to sell my art, and anytime I put up a print or anything like that, it didn't do well. Actually, what I did okay with was sketch covers that I had drawn on. But again, that's sort of trading on the name of like, oh, this is the blank Wolverine sketch cover that I drew a picture of Wolverine on. So it's like, yeah, that's kind of an easier sell than just here's my art.
Yeah, I tend to sell. I've sold some of those. Definitely sold better when it was like sketch cards of other characters. Characters that are owned by other companies.
Licensed, yeah.
Licensed stuff, yeah. Those always sell well. I would say that I've sold a good amount of artwork that way because of the known characters help.
Right. Yeah, I feel the same is true here. But even then, I do better on Etsy, than on eBay. And I just like put it up and leave it up, and eventually somebody finds it and buys it, as opposed to, eBay has like such a finite like shelf life.
Yes.
And even if you put it up for one of those month-long auctions, then it just gets buried to the bottom by the end of the month anyway. So.
Yeah, I find that the things tend to sell better when it is on an auction, for like the 3-day auction.
Yeah.
Things sell well because I have had stuff just sit there for months, and things not really move. Etsy I haven't tried, although I do have an account with them.
Yeah, Etsy's all right. I've, like I said, not that I've done gangbusters, but I've done better there than any other online place I've tried.
Mm-hmm.
Still not as good as a convention, but
right.
I always feel like at a convention, like my personality sells the art more than the art sometimes. Like sometimes people want it, like let's just walk up and like give me that. But I definitely am like a friendly, outgoing sort of person behind the table. And I've definitely sometimes sold stuff and been like, I wonder if they liked me or they liked my art, you know?
Right, you never know. I always find you never know what's going to sell at a con because I've done so many different types of cons where I've done anime cons and I've done regular comic cons, and I do better at regular comic cons. But the funny thing is like occasionally stuff do sell at different cons because the person who's there are there because they're a fan of anime or what have you. But the person who brought them might be a fan of
Right.
something else. So I end up selling a lot of my traditional comic book stuff to not necessarily the fan who went to that show, but the person who got dragged to that show
Right,
with
right.
them.
And then you become one of the few people with that style art at that show. So anybody that wants it is going to you.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like I drew a Robin sketch card, and it was something that just sat at so many other cons. And again, I was at an anime con in Connecticut, and I was sitting there, and just someone walked by, and I was like, "Oh, is that the traditional Robin?" And it's like, "Yeah." It's like, I'll take that. And she was just in the sense of, I'm here with my brother. There's nothing here I like.
Right.
And it just ended up working out. And it's like, okay. And this was a Robin that I took with me to probably 7 cons. It was from the season before that just never moved.
Right, yes. But then the right person. Yeah, I've had that, like, because I have so many prints now, I need to find a better system because I cannot possibly bring and display all my prints, And then I have that, like, well, what's going to sell? I don't know. And I'm always afraid the thing I don't put out is going to be the one that somebody buys or whatever. And I've had that, and I've had that exact experience of, like, I had a Macho Man Randy Savage from wrestling as a zombie. And I had made 3, and they didn't do that. Like, I sold 1, like, right away, and then the other 2 sat around forever. And I was like questioning, should I even keep putting these out? I've had been putting it out for a year, like am I wasting space? And then I did a show, straight up regular comic show, a couple months ago, and that sold like without any preamble. Somebody was like, "Hey, is that Macho Man as a zombie? Give it to me." I was like, "All right, there you go." But even though it sold, I don't plan on printing anymore. It was like, well, good, I got rid of that one, but
Yeah.
But like there's no predicting who would have expected that would be the thing somebody would run up and buy at the like standard superhero show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just don't, there's only so much table space. And, I tend to put out, like, well, this is stuff I like. And it's like, I don't know if anyone likes this stuff.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
else? And again, it's one of those things where, you try to predict the things that I've learned. Batman always sells, no matter where you go.
Right.
Harlequin.
Right.
Everyone likes Harley. Daredevil is not Daredevil. Deadpool.
Yeah.
Very popular. Joker's
Deadpool.
popular, and it's sometimes weird what people really like and what they gravitate to, and then other times, I would have someone come up and say, "Oh, can you draw this character?" And I'm sitting there, it's like I have no idea who that is, and it turned out to be the Metroid character.
Samus?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So it's like I had a kid ask me if I could draw her, and it's like I have no idea who that is. And luckily I had an iPad, I was able to look it up. And it's
I was gonna say I don't know how people did it in the age before iPhones because I'm all the time looking stuff up. Can you draw that? Absolutely. Give me a minute to look it up and.
Exactly. I mean, my early days, I used to carry around the handbook of the Marvel Universe and
Oh,
the
that's
DC
smart.
Universe.
Right.
Those trade paperbacks of those. It's like, look, superheroes, you tell me who, I'll find it.
Right.
Video game characters, like, oh, hold on a second. It's going to take a little bit of doing.
When the first sketch I ever got when I was a kid, I don't know, I was 12 or 13 or whatever, and it was one of those, like real comic conventions where it was at like a Marriott or something, and there was like one room of dudes with long boxes and like 2 local artists, and that was like the big show for the year,
Right, a Sheraton show like
yeah,
that.
it probably was a Sheraton now that you mention it. But there was like a local artist named Mike Wolfer who still works. He does like horror books and stuff.
Yeah,
And
I know who he is. I recognize the name.
I think he works out of Delaware. He used to have a book called it was like a giant kaiju book, ironically, that I didn't read at the time, but I now know what it is.
Yes, I know exactly which book you're talking about because I recently discovered that about 2 or 3 years ago. I discovered it and I was like buying them off of eBay for like $3. But he does horror stuff now.
Yeah, like Ragdoll.
Ragdoll.
Yeah.
He just launched like I think a new book recently.
Yeah, but I just kind of rediscovered him like a year ago when I was like looking at because I still have the sketch he gave me. It was like the first professional sketch I ever bought, and I was thinking like, I wonder if this guy still works. And I looked up, I'm like, oh my god, he does. He's on Facebook. But the picture I got from him, because I was a kid, and what I know now, I'd be like, hey, draw me a monster, But
Right.
I was just like, oh, here's an artist. I want Nightcrawler and Rogue because they're my favorite X-Men, And I asked him, and again, this was before smartphones and stuff like that, and he was like, I am willing to do that, but can you go buy a comic with them in it and bring it over here for me?
Yes, I've done that.
And I did, and it worked out fine, and then I loved it. It was great, but it's just funny that, could you imagine that now someone's like, hey, I want a picture of Samus. Okay, could you go buy the video game she's in and bring it over to me?
It's funny about that, talking about the old shows like that, because when I've never been to a comic show before I was working in the industry.
Okay.
It just was one of those things, like I was collecting. I knew where comic shops were, but I didn't know about conventions.
Gotcha.
And then, like, the only thing I knew about conventions were like the Star Trek conventions.
Right.
And I've heard of those, just because the magazines I read, they advertised that more.
Well, like Starlog and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And by the time I started working in the industry in '93, I was an intern, and it was like my first job as an intern was working cons. So it's like, oh, okay, so now I get to go to a Comic Con, but I only saw it from the behind
professional
the table,
side, right?
The professional side, completely. That's what I was used to.
Right. No magic there.
Right. Exactly. So it was like, I knew what the place looked like before it opened up. I saw everybody setting up, so completely different. And then once I went as a fan, it's like, wait, what do you mean I got to get online? I got to do what? I got to stand. Wait, no.
I was able to just walk up to anybody I wanted and talk to them. It was no problem.
Exactly. I didn't have to wait online for anyone. My badge said pro. I cut lines. It's just like, oh, there's a big line for this guy. I'll just walk behind the table and talk to him.
Yeah.
And it was like, ever since then, it was like, I usually will not go to a con unless I'm either behind the table or if I know I got a badge that I can walk in, because I don't want to sound like an elitist, but it's like I just can't do lines.
Yeah, no,
they're insane.
I know what you mean. I used to work at Six Flags, first as a ride operator and then a caricature artist, and I have a really hard time going to theme parks now because I'm used to just not staying on any line for any roller coaster, getting all the food and drinks out for free, knowing everybody that works there. And when I go someplace now, it's like, really? I gotta pay $60 to stand online for an hour and a half to that. It sounds terrible.
Yeah, but exactly. But I know what you mean. Like, again, it's like I don't want to sound like an elitist, but lines? Oh no, I can't do that.
But it's also funny too to sound like an elitist. But like, I was making a little bit over minimum wage. It's not like I had this glamorous job. It's just
right.
Oh
no, believe me, I know what you mean. It's like the working in comics and for a while getting comics for free was a lot of fun. And then when I went full freelance and I'm not getting stuff for free, I became really picky really fast at what I'm buying on my own dime.
Right.
And it's like, but I used to come home with stacks of books. Now I barely buy books now, and it's like, oh, I can't believe people are now paying books for these prices.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to conventions where you run into friends at their table and there's like a line of 10 people, and it's like I feel guilty going up to them and saying hi, but I do anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a nice break too, though, if they're just like signing for fans all day.
I tend to.
Yeah, but it's like, there's this whole line of people waiting, and it's like I just walk up and, let's start a little conversation while they wait.
Well, I think if you walked up and were like, hey, could you sign my stuff, then they might be getting a little mad. But, if they could clearly see you're just a friend saying hi, nobody... That would be awesome, though, if you're just like, excuse me. Hi, could you sign these to Peter, please?
Yeah, just a little sketch in there, that's cool.
Yeah, whatever.
Little legendary.
Just something simple. Just something simple, like a horse riding a motorcycle on a helicopter playing electric guitar, left-handed. Could you just real quick? The
Real
Empire
quick,
State Building.
just the Avengers versus the Defenders.
Make sure the Eiffel Tower is in the foreground.
You got time. Your line's not so long today.
But the downside of being known by the artist, I do recall not getting online, but saying hi to to one of the guys that worked in the office, and I think it was John Romita Sr. And I remember seeing him at a con, and we were talking and stuff like that, and it was like, I don't want to bother him at work. You know, I said, you're at a con, you're doing sketches, I'm at a con, could you do a Spider-Man sketch in my sketchbook? And he's like, yeah, why don't you just bring this to the office and get it done there? It's like, okay. And I never got the sketch.
Yeah. That might have been his, like, slick way of deflecting it. Like, he didn't want to do a drawing for you, so he's like, oh, I'll politely tell you to do it later, knowing you'll forget.
Uh-huh. Oh, no, I didn't forget. He just never had time to go to his office. But I can't complain too bad because he did eventually do a sketch of one of my characters. So I find that that's better in a way than actually having, you know, everyone's going to get a Spider-Man sketch from him, but
Right.
I have something a little more unique because I got a sketch of my character done by him.
Right. Yeah, the Spider-Man sketch might sell better in the future if you're broke, but it's not going to mean as much to you.
Exactly.
But what is Spider-Man? You could sell it on eBay for millions.
I could.
Millions.
Millions, yeah. But you know, it's like I won't sell. You know, I have a lot of art, and then the ones I mostly have sold were like pages that I might have inked over someone else. So the pages that I have sold were like if I did the backgrounds for some of the team up books. You know, that I did background art for an inker, and it's like, okay, so I have this page, I can sell that, I feel fine selling that page, but like I don't think I would ever part with the Spider-Man page I have from John Buscema. You know, it's just that yes, I probably can sell it for a lot of money. His art is hot right now, but it's like I just can't part with that.
No, you'd rather have it than the money.
I would rather have it than the money.
And that's the kind of thing that you hopefully never have to sell, but if, you know, that you only sell that when you're in dire straits, basically.
Basically. And it's like, to me, it's like, but I have a few pieces of art like that in the side that's like, I could sell this, but then, you know, these pieces here, there is no way I'm going to sell those because, you know, again, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, this meant something to me personally more so than something else that either I worked on for pay or it's like I got it from an artist who was like, oh, I got some artwork. Do you want these pages? I was like, sure. You know, I'll buy this, and that because there's no connection there in that way. It's like, oh, these are cool. I might be able to resell them. Right.
Whereas the other stuff is almost like family photos or a yearbook or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How about you, Peter? You inked a lot of people. Do you sell that artwork as well?
You know, everything I've done for Mo and DC is gone. Somebody just asked me the other day, do you have any Aquaman pages? I'm like, I did when I was working on the book, but you know, as an inker, I get a.
Sorry, go ahead.
Was it? Go ahead.
I was just wondering if you sold them kind of immediately as you were doing them, or it was later on you needed some extra cash and sold them.
I might have held on to some pages. Like, I'll keep these because I think they're awesome and I want them. You know, as I was on the book, I probably many of them, and shortly after I sold the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
Any pages I was holding on to, you know, 5 years later, I started moving a lot, so I'm pretty sure I sold everything at that point.
Right.
Just, you know, got tired of carting everything around.
Yeah, and there's a good chance they'll get
It's
damaged
like,
too.
yeah,
if you
it's
keep 'em
gorgeous, and I can buy the comic anytime and see it.
Did you sell those outright yourself, or did you have
now
it?
everything's totally readily available. I mean, if you want to see gorgeous art in pencil form or ink form, you can find tons of it. It wasn't the case back when.
No, not at all. The funny thing about getting started, it's like I had no idea size-wise of the artwork. That we only get to see the finished product, so we never get to see that the artwork was done
Right.
the sizes that they are done. And I would say I started like everyone else, started collecting comics around between 11 and 13 is like when I discovered comic books. But I would say it's not until I was in high school that I actually read people's names that were on it. It really wasn't until high school where I recognized, this artwork looks just like this one. And
Right. You made that connection.
Started clicking, and it's like, this is the artist that did this other book. And I think it was Bernie Wrightson was the one that I realized that. Where it's like he did a graphic novel called Hooky with Spider-Man. And looking at the artwork around that time, I also had there was this Thing and Hulk graphic novel.
Oh, I remember that, and ended with a tomato on his face, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he drew both of those books, and it wasn't until I, really sat there and then looked at the names, like, this artist is this artist. He's the same person. And then that's when I started really paying attention.
Because you knew
who
that
was
you would
who.
like any book that guy worked on if you liked his work.
Pretty much. And then,
Yeah.
at the time I was reading, Spider-Man was my big character to read. So it was like, yes, I liked Ditko stuff, but I prefer Romita stuff.
Right.
And so I was getting all the books that Romita was doing, and that was where it's like, I really like the way this art looks. And then, Ron Frenz is doing Spider-Man too at the same time, so it was basically I was picking up all the Spider-Man books,
Right.
and following various artists on it. So it's like, this is the same guy that does this and does that. And then once you start doing that, then you kind of start paying more attention to not only the artwork, but how the art was done. And there was very few books on basically how to draw comics in the first place. So everything we gravitated to were like Comic Insider, I think was the name of the magazine, because they occasionally would show pencils. I went to Art and Design, so John Byrne was huge there, and he had a sketchbook, I think called Out of My Mind or something like that. And it was the first time you really got to see pencils and what they look like, and finding out that you didn't have to just do the whole book yourself. It's like you could do certain parts about it.
What's funny is then later you relearn, you can do the whole book yourself.
You can.
Like if you want to self-publish, I mean.
Exactly. And then that was the thing, is like because I didn't really do comic book art until I was actually working in the offices, because I worked at Marvel for a long time. But, the artwork I came in with was more of, I wanted to be working graphic design. And so whatever figure drawings I had was just fine art stuff. And it was like, I had to relearn basically how to get rid of the fine art stuff to do comic book stuff, because it's a different monster entirely. And then I got to learn a little bit of everything, because, as a freelancer, you learn quick to say yes and then figure out how to do it later.
Yeah.
That's how I got most of my lettering gigs, and now I'm known for lettering. But my first job was basically, can you letter? I was like, yes. And then I took the job, and then walked to my friends who did letter and go, okay, so what do you do? How do you do this? And it was all computer stuff by that time, so it was like, because my handwriting is atrocious. So luckily for the computer, it was being done. It was like, okay, I could figure this out, and showed my first book to one of the letterers, and it was like, wow, this is okay, but you got to fix all these things.
I remember I went to the Joe Kubert School for a year, and when I was there, it was I mean there were still some people hand lettering, but it was definitely the age. It was like the mid '90s, so it was definitely computers were around for lettering and coloring and stuff. And we had a class for 2 semesters that year of just like traditional lettering with like an Ames lettering guide, and like I don't think anyone in the class enjoyed it. Everyone kind of was like, "Why are we doing this?" None of us want to do this.
And it's funny, to this day, I still get requests, oh, can you letter by hand? It's like, no. I do wish I did learn it, because there were jobs with big name artists who wanted to keep it very traditional.
Right. Well, and especially now, it's almost become like boutique. Like it's chic to do it now, kind of.
Yeah.
But at the time, we were all, we were in art school. Like we all want to be pencilers on X-Men. We're not. None of us will ever be anything less than that,
Uh-huh.
And then those of us that stuck to that don't work in art anymore.
Oh, it is funny to be at that right age to be that cocky, thinking I'm going to work on X-Men. I don't think I ever told Peter this story. I was early in my career at Marvel, and I think I was still I had been working in the offices now for probably about 5 years, and I was getting more and more freelance work, especially for coloring. Because I was doing that computer-wise, so I was able to get a lot of work doing that. But I was starting to get a little stronger with my penciling, and this was probably about 5 years no, probably more than that. Spider-Man was going to hit an anniversary. It's going to probably, I think it was issue like 500 or 600. I know they just had 700. So this was probably back then, probably either 400 or 500. And so I told the editor, it was like, Spider-Man's going to hit, I'm going to say it's issue 400. Most likely it's 500, but it was like, it's going to be issue 500 in about 5 years. I think my pencils will be good. I'm going to probably end up doing that issue. And it's like, I'll be good enough to do it that issue. Never happened.
It's also funny too, because like I don't remember who did that issue, but those issues a lot of times they'll take the series regular off and put a superstar on for that one issue.
Yeah.
So even if you were on it, that wouldn't be a guarantee that you'd be the one doing it.
Oh, but in my mind, I was going to do it. And it was going to be a lizard story. I think I was going to even write the story.
You were writing it, I see.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. That's funny.
In my defense, when I was coming up, like, the age of Image was real big, so it did seem very possible when you saw people like Rob Liefeld, who's like, oh, he's only like 5 years older than me, and he's not much better, and he's making millions of dollars. Like, I could do that, So it was delusional, but it was based on some, real life evidence.
No, but the thing is that that's what I say. His popularity was that here's a kid that showed up.
Yeah,
and he could do it. I could do it too.
Right.
And there was a time that was just before the Image guys left. I showed up at Marvel not right after they left. They were around for long enough to be, they did it. They're the good. They're the guys who did good. They fought the big company and went off and did their own stuff.
Right.
And they left the void. At Marvel, where you had so many other people coming in and trying new things, and they had so many books. The joke was that if you showed up and you could draw, you might get a book.
Right.
And that was like a unique time. And I always say it's like, once I got there, I would say it was like there was a huge party going on. The party's still going on, the music's not playing as loud, and there's still food on the table and all that, and right around the corner, the police are going to break in any second and kick everybody out, and that's what happened with the bankruptcy.
Right.
But, to walk in at that time period, it was a unique thing that I was able to see from the background that was like, wow, this looks like a lot of fun, and it didn't seem too hard to get on a book, but it was hard to stay on a book.
Because they would kick you off, or because people would meet their
deadlines? There
was
so many people there, and then what happened was that there was so many books kind of getting canceled.
Mm.
So it's hard to hold on to a book. No, I never got fired off a book for like missing a deadline or anything.
Oh, I didn't mean to
like that.
imply you
But
personally.
I'm just saying is that the thing is that because I worked in the office, I was more known as that's the guy who's in this particular office who does this, who does art. So
Right.
I would get a lot of the work I would get would mostly be, we're like 4 or 5 pages short. It's a Friday. We can't contact anybody. Can you take these pages over the weekend and do them?
Right.
So there was a lot. I
You're
got a
very
lot of
genius.
work like that.
That's not the worst way to get work.
And it's not. It's not. Because if you add it all together, it's like, 3 pages in this book, 12 pages in that book or what have you. It equals up a little more than a book a month.
Right. But you get more diversity, too.
Yeah, definitely, especially with the coloring stuff I was doing. And it was one time FedEx lost the whole book, so I had to color the whole thing. I had a 48-pager over the weekend.
Wow, that must have been the most quality coloring you ever did.
Again, back then it was with markers, so this was right before the computer, so it was a lot quicker to do.
Mm.
It was a doable thing. But the
Right.
funny thing is, like, everything was done so quickly by the time, I got the pages in, it got sent out, the book got printed, but no one ever bothered to change the credits page, so it got credited to the colorist who was supposed to do the book. So it was like some of those things. It's like that was the main downside of rushing in and saving the day.
Would they go and like put a correction in the letters page like
They
3
do.
issues later?
The next issue.
Yeah, but nobody looks at that. 'Cause
No one
it's-
looked at it. No, So my 3-issue run on Thor counts as one because I think only one of them got credited.
Yeah.
But again, the cool thing about being there to save the day, so to speak, is like I would get like a regular book. And it's like, okay, here you have normal time to do it, and you might get a 3-issue run from it.
Right.
And then computer coloring came in, and it's like I saw that switch over and happen. It was like, it's a lot. There's so much things you could do with the computer, but you lose the speed you used to have with marker rendering or painting.
Oh, yeah.
What you call it?
I've been coloring a book recently for somebody, and I don't like consider myself a colorist, but it takes me so long, like 5 hours a page, 6 hours a page.
Yep.
To the point where I'm almost done with this first book, and I feel like they're going to offer me issue 2, and I don't know if I want to take it because it's kind of not worth the money to do it,
Yeah, the thing is like because I was doing it for so long, yes, I could, depending on the style, I could do a page in 3 hours, but there was that 15 years of doing this stuff that you could get faster that way.
Right. But also, from when I was talking to Kevin Cross about this, because he had done some comic coloring, and this is like I've done work in color, but I haven't done, hey, I'm a colorist until now.
Right.
And I was asking about rates because I was like, maybe I'll just tell you, I'm getting $50 a page. And to me, that seemed like this has got to be low because how long it's taken me. But kind of the impression I got from him and a few other people is that it's kind of the going rate now.
It is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately so.
But it used to be higher, I guess.
It used to be $110.
110 would be better.
You could hear me almost cry. Rates, I tell you, the comic industry is really weird. Where when I was lettering manga, I would make enough off of one book that all I had to do was one book. And
Lettering?
Now for lettering, just lettering, and manga, you have 200 pages to it.
Right.
So you get it as a bulk rate, but nowadays there's not that many companies doing mangas anymore. Now I have to do 3 issues just to equal what I used to get for 1 issue back in the in the early 2000s.
Mm.
So coloring is the same thing. It's like would love to do a cover for Marvel because that paid so much more than the interior of the books. It paid like a rate and a half, and so you can make money off of just doing covers. But now it's really weird how talking to various people in the industry, and is odd, and I hear from a lot of other artists who do other things in comic books how rates have really dropped, where your indie titles are now almost competitive with the mainstream titles on what you would be getting.
Right. Well, and that's kind of what
Yeah.
I've heard too, because I've only ever worked on little teeny books no one's ever heard of, but I feel like I'm not making that much less than the people on not popular Marvel books.
Right. And that's the thing. It's the weird thing about it is that back when no one knew about comics, people were making money, and it's like now that everyone loves comics and these Marvel movies and all these movies out, it's like you're not really getting the same rate as you once was able to get. Unless you're of course the big name penciler.
Right.
Yeah.
So why are we
Right.
doing this again?
I make almost no money off a comic. I mean, I make a living as an artist professionally, but whenever I do comic work, it's either for myself or I'm losing money for someone else. You know what I mean? Just to
Yeah, and that's the thing is like you have to really make the decision on what is it that you want to work on, and I've turned down jobs mainly because the rate was so low. It's like even though I'm not doing any work right now, I would be losing money taking on it. So what I do now is basically I take on projects that I find interesting.
right.
And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, this is kind of cool. I never worked on something like that. So I'm doing a project for a guy now who basically just the artwork sold me. It's like, this is kind of interesting. He's gray washing some of it. And again, he's not, because he can't even afford to really pay me, he gives me a page maybe once. He gives me, I think, 3 pages a month.
Right. I have
just because it's like this way here, I could work on it at my leisure. He could kind of afford the page rate we agreed to because while he's working, he's
just
putting the
saves
money
up.
aside.
Yeah.
It saves up, and it's like, okay, here the next page is now ready, and I know
Right.
that okay, I could work on it this week because once I'm done, he'll be able to pay me. And again, it was only because he was like, I can't afford to pay you your regular rate. I can only afford this amount, but it's only about 3 or 4 pages a month. Would I be willing to do it? I took a look at the art first and
Right.
go, okay, you know what? The artwork is interesting enough for me to go, yeah, I can do this because it's not a burden. And it's like,
And it won't stop you if another job comes along. It's not like you're completely booked up doing a few pages a month. You could take something else.
exactly. And I find that, the page is easy enough for me to go, okay, cool. Like I could block out 3 hours on this particular day and get it to him.
Right.
And so I feel it's like then I don't feel angry while I'm working to go, oh, I don't even want to touch this because it's this or that.
It's funny that you have to say I don't feel angry while I'm working on it, but I feel like every professional artist knows exactly what you mean. We've all had those jobs where like, I hate this art. I hate the person who's making me do it.
Yes. And it's funny because sometimes when I'm angry is the only time I actually can sit down and work.
Right.
Because there's this weird Zen thing. Once you don't care about the project, you could get it done quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I have a similar job. It's the one where I'm doing pencils, inks, and color. I'm doing all the art for this book. But it's like what you were saying, where the guy's sending me a check like once or twice a month. I got to do a page. So it's like, I'm on page 9 and I've been working on it for months. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I like the story and yeah, it's no pressure whatsoever. So why not?
Yep. I feel that way too. It's like it's basically one of those things. Like I would have normally hadn't take the job, but because of the way he did it, I look forward to the pages now.
Yeah, that's.
And once they come in, it's like, oh, okay, cool. And then I have fun doing them. And like I said, I usually try to block out 3 hours on it. But then there are some cases when it's like, well, you know what? Now that it's done, I can add this to it. I can add that to it. And I probably added more to it.
Right, they get a better product because you have the time to noodle with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like the old thing of cheap. What is it? Cheap, fast, good. Pick two.
Right.
And this is the job where they're like paying hopefully a decent rate, but they're now I mess up. They're getting 2 because it's slow. That's what I'm getting at. But yeah. I find almost every job, if I have more time on it, it comes out better because inevitably I'm going to go back to it and mess with it a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah, I usually find, whether I finish a page or I'm close to being finished, I sort of let it breathe a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and then look at it with fresh eyes and say, oh, I can, just fill that in black and that will look better than all that detail, or add a little more detail here, and, little things
Right.
on the
Well,
page and bring it
and,
all together better.
and that's probably true of everybody, except that you don't always have the time to do that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also find that sometimes the last few pages, for some reasons, are the ones that drag on the longest or the most. It's like, oh, I just want to get this done so I can move on to the next thing. And it's like, why is the one last page just taking forever? And then I realized, I've been working all day. It's 2 a.m. Maybe I'll go lay down and, after a good night's sleep, wake up and it's like, no, it takes 5 minutes and I'm done.
Yeah. I hate that. It's like you're like sweating it for so long or something, and then you just do the work, and it's like, yeah, it's like that. It's like 5 minutes. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah, because it's like, this is the last page. If I stay up another hour, I could probably get it done. It's like 2 hours have gone by, and I feel like it's just dragging.
And you're redrawing the same hand or something 50 times.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, let me just, okay, fine. I had enough. I'm going to lay down, sleep, and worry about it in the morning. And then after you get up, it's like, oh, it's just this.
Yeah. I actually have client work I should be working on instead of doing this, but this is because this has to be done today according to the challenge. Like, this is getting priority.
Oops. Oh, so you were saying like Rob Liefeld, like you saw Rob Liefeld's work and you're like, well, if he's getting all this work, then I could definitely do as
Yeah.
good as him. I can get in.
Yeah, I mean, I literally had that thought, not in a like in a realistic way, Like
Yeah.
the work I was doing at the time may or may not even been as good as him. If I'm being honest, it was probably worse, But it wasn't like looking at Neil Adams or something, It was like, oh, in a year I could be as good as him,
His work had a real friendliness to it that appealed, I think, to kids. That's why he was popular all this time. That there's that, I can do that. I could achieve that kind of a thing.
And that for me that was definitely true and I'm not looking to slag him off or anything, but I wasn't a particular fan of his. Like, I didn't hate him, but I was much more of a Todd McFarlane, Mark Silvestri kind of guy. Like the other guys were bigger to me, but he was the guy. It was kind of like, who's the worst on that team? Rob Liefeld. I could be almost, like that's why I gravitated towards looking at his stuff, because it was, like looking at the worst baseball player on a team. Am I as good as that guy?
Yeah, I had, I fell into that same kind of category looking at his stuff, where I had tons of friends that really hated his stuff. So much so that you just can't help but just being there going, yeah, I probably was one of the guys that didn't like him either. But, nonetheless, I've gotten, as I've gotten older, a new appreciation for his stuff and what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
Because when it comes down to it, he has done so many more books than I have.
Right.
If you take when he started his career at 19, I didn't start mine till about 25, I think, is when I was working at Marvel, and I still have not come close to doing as many books as he has. I've done a ton of manga, if we're just talking work-wise.
Right.
I've done a ton of manga books, but I know I have not. I don't think I've done as many issues that he's done, and again, I'm just lettering using the computer as a tool. He was out and out drawing each individual panel. So I have a new appreciation for him, of what he's been able to accomplish. But I could definitely see from a marketing standpoint why his stuff is so popular. And no matter what it was, people would buy it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, like I said, I'm not a particular fan of his art, but I don't hate his guts or anything. And that's the thing, people get weirdly personal. Like, even if you hate his art, why do you have to hate him as a person? Like, who cares? And I think it's because they're most people that don't dislike him, I'm betting, are frustrated artists who say, I could draw better than him, and he made $1 million. He's a jerk, And it's like, well, people bought it, He didn't buy 1 million copies, the public did. So if you're mad at anybody, be mad at the people who bought it or something,
Right, exactly, and that's the thing is that as a frustrated artist, I could definitely say it's like, wow, he can do it. I should be able to do it too.
Right.
But again, that was also a very unique time, I think, for comics.
Right.
That part of me feels like, man, I showed up in the industry about 5 years later than I think I should have.
Yeah.
But he's sort of like, like, he is a good artist, and I've seen him, his first book out of the gate,
Hawk and Dove,
was much better looking than what he did later. I mean, technically wise.
I agree. I think his earlier work is better than his later work.
I would argue that it's because he was inked by Terry Austin.
Right. Well,
in Hawk and Dove.
I think you're right, and I think also, like a lot of the Image guys, I think he probably was better when he had an editor looking over his shoulder, making sure everything was going smoothly, hitting deadlines and stuff, that, when he just had the freedom to draw whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, it wasn't necessarily the best thing.
Yeah, the joke was that, Image was smart. They went off and took all the artists, but no one took a writer with them. So, there's those kinds of things. But the fact that, the company is still around.
Right.
That, those guys, especially Eric Larson, is still doing his book.
Yeah.
Even Todd is not drawing his own book.
Right, yeah. Well, Todd proved himself to be a better businessman than artist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I can't blame Todd for anything he's decided to do.
Right.
Because he was smart enough not to have all his eggs in one basket.
Mm-hmm.
He, with that money, he was able to go ahead and do so many other things. So yeah. I cannot blame any of them. And I think the one who has the best story has to be Jim Lee, because he, eventually he was able to sell his stuff and not worry about it anymore.
Right. Yeah. And now he's like DC's golden child.
Exactly. And it's like, he's doing what he wants, and and found a place for his characters in his company.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. And there's, even Quesada, who's, he's a great writer for what he's written, and he's a great artist. But he's making more money doing everything else.
Exactly.
Yeah. I always imagine maybe like guys like Quesada that, like, obviously he's doing this now, but 10, 20 years, whatever, eventually he's going to retire from like running everything, and maybe at that point he'll just start doing like self-published comics or something. Once he's got all the money, then he could just relax, do his own thing. Maybe not. That's what I would do.
Or he could just. I mean, at this point, he'll probably just in Marvel and benefit from it. Yeah, I mean, he's producing TV shows now and everything else.
I guess I'm just projecting what I would like to happen.
he gets to draw anything he wants. Like any kind of like special cover. I want to do that. I'll do that. Like,
yeah, that's nice too.
He's in that kind of position. Yeah. He does the DVD cover art for stuff, and
For what, like the animated ones? The animated Marvel movies, you mean, or?
Well, yeah. I mean, he did the what is it, Doctor Strange cover art.
Oh, okay.
For the animated movie.
I didn't see that.
Iron Man. Yeah, let's see.
So he's doing okay for himself, is what you're saying?
I'm sure
he is.
Does he seem okay?
Yeah.
Okay. We don't need to start a Kickstarter for him.
No. But he they're making Painkiller Jane into a movie, and that's part his property, part my brother's.
Is your brother Jimmy Palmiotti?
Yes.
I did not know that. That's
Yeah.
funny. That's funny because when I first heard your name, it occurred to me, oh, the only other person I heard with that name is that guy Jimmy Palmiotti, but it never made the connection that you might be related to him.
Yeah, he's my son. No, wait, he's my brother.
So I guess inking runs in the family then.
Yeah, I mean, we're a year apart in age, and growing up, we were close. Not always because he wanted to be, but I was a baby, and
Right.
somebody had to stay home and watch me.
So he was sort of the big brother slash babysitter.
Yeah, he was the big brother who was always around.
Mm-hmm.
And we grew up. We had a lot of the same tastes. We love movies. We love comics. We both collected comics. And like he picked up books I didn't pick up, and vice versa, and into art and whatnot. And he got into it a lot earlier than I did.
Right.
But it's like I followed my own path. Wound up the same path. And it's kind of just, wacky. I mean, writing, I stuck with inking, which is kind of, I should have went into writing.
Well, you're writing now.
Yeah, but, I mean, I should have, done writing when I was working for Mall in D.C. I could have made just as much writing as I did inking.
Really?
Without all the extra work. Yeah.
I always thought writing paid the least out of the the major jobs.
Well, writing really became, art was the focus back in the 90s.
Right.
And then really writing came in after, it was like when Wizard magazine was around.
Right.
It was like, here's the top 25 artists, and then all of a sudden, here's the top 25 writers.
I remember that.
Because they started getting writers from movies, from TV, from novelists. All of a sudden, that became the new hot thing, which kind of still stands. Especially, it's like a lot less artists from America drawing comics. So
that's
as well, so it's sort of everything shifted, and I should have definitely went into writing.
It's never too late,
jobs, man. Whatever. I mean, my focus now is, other things might happen, but I want to do a lot of independent things, both my own creations and working with others, and writing is a part of that. But I don't think I'm going to make any if my stuff hits, kind of thing. Not what I was making, for inking back when.
Right. Do you do other, Peter, do you do other illustration work? I know you do inking and commissions and that kind of stuff, but do you do any, what would be considered, straight illustration work, for magazines or, T-shirts or the kind of stuff Kevin and I do?
I haven't. I don't know. Maybe. No, I mean, mostly when it comes to my own art, I'm it's hit or miss. It's like I could do something I like. I could do something.
Oh no, I don't mean for yourself. I mean for clients. I do a lot of that stuff not for myself, but just to pay the bills, kind of.
Yeah, I've done a couple of things. but I don't know. I'm just not confident enough. Oh, all right. Excuse me. Gotta get this. I'll be back.
Gosh. Actually, I'm gonna step away for a second. Be right back too.
They all left us?
We're all alone.
So what are you working on?
Well, like I mentioned before, I ran a Kickstarter in October to do a graphic novel. I'm not an artist. I'm actually a writer, and I just got a wild hair. I've always loved comic books, and I've always wanted to make one, and begged my brother, who is an artist, to draw it, and he politely declined. So I said, oh well, I guess I'll learn to draw.
Oh, okay.
So I'm learning to draw. Yeah, so I ran a Kickstarter in October, and it got funded, which was exciting, and so now I've got to finish this book in time for Comic-Con this summer.
Oh, okay. And what's your book about?
Yeah, that's always I'm terrible at these pitches, let me tell you. It's about it's about an exotic dancer and a paroled arsonist who sort of they live in a halfway house, and they're neither of them have too many marbles upstairs, and they decide to create they come up with this idea for like a vigilante superhero, and the woman of the duo doesn't realize that the arsonist sort of takes this idea seriously and decides to actually act on it, and so it's just kind of this, in a weird way, it's kind of a bizarre love story.
Okay.
But it sort of it's taking sort of the superhero trope and trying to apply it to, like, it's sort of what we were talking about earlier about, you know, the idea of superheroes in real life and gritty and all that kind of stuff. It's like you want gritty, you want the reality of, like, what should superheroes really be doing? You know, there's, like, just if you look at, like, an urban situation and the crime and the horrible things that happen to children and, you know, those kinds of circumstances, you never really see that addressed in comic books.
Or if you do, it's like a special one-off. Spider-Man deals with drugs. Yeah.
It's a one-off, and it's never very impactful, because it's like, why aren't they dealing with this stuff all the time, you know? So I kind of wanted to invent a character that's what they do, is that they address, you know, this sort of street level horrible, you know, the horrible reality that some people live in, and not go out and fight monsters and mobsters and all this other crazy stuff, but kind of address those smaller problems.
Right.
Cool.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's definitely good to have a different take on stuff sometimes.
I find it interesting as a concept, and I think, like I said, I've never really seen something addressed in a comic book that that wasn't just a one-off or didn't, you know, perpetuate. It's like, well, okay, so Batman saved this, you know, abducted child or whatever, but it's like, you know how many children get abducted? Like, that's happening all the time. You know, it's like, so it's just weird to me. It's like there isn't sort of that level of, there's some things in comic books that's too real, you know.
Well, and also probably, you know, because of the way comics started being a medium of entertainment for children that needed to be flashy and simple.
Right.
You know, now that it's matured as an art form, there's room for that sort of story, but not everyone realizes that, you know.
Yeah, and you know, it's getting better, I think, and I think there's, again, one of the things I really love about comics is that there's room for everything, you know.
No, I agree.
go silly, you can go big, you can go giant monsters, and all that kind of stuff. I love all of that. I read it all, But as a writer, when I think about what I want to write, I always think about what is it that I don't get to read,
Mm-hmm.
And this is a story that I haven't ever read, so I'm going to put it out there.
Are you doing as one big book release, or are you going to do floppies?
I'm doing it as a graphic novel. I was trying to shoot to keep it under about 130 pages, but I'm already over. I'm already overpaged right now.
Yeah, that happened to me too.
And my real desire was to do floppies, but I don't think I could produce them consistently enough. So I thought if I do it in volumes, that would be easier for me.
Hmm.
I'm now regretting that decision because I'm overpaged and I have an enormous amount of work to do. Because I didn't know what I was doing. I'm making this up as I'm going along.
Right.
But I'm learning a lot, and that's the most important thing to me is that now I know. Now I realize it's like, wow, I should have, if I was doing this as my first comic, I really should have just done like an introductory issue.
Right, like just like a 22-page. Here's who everybody are, kind of. Yeah.
It's simple. I'm right now. I'm drawing page 58. And I'm just sort of like thinking to myself, it's the first week of March. I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, but in another way, you're about halfway there.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I feel like even though I scripted this very carefully, and even though I tried to conceive it very carefully, and I think this is again a result of my sort of neophyte drawing skills, but if I expected something to take 5 pages, it's taking me 7.
Hmm.
So the thing is developing some bloat,
Yeah.
So I've actually had to cut some scenes because I thought, I got to make sure I hit this deadline.
What I've been finding, because I've been having very similar things going on with my project, is you're further along, but similar stuff of it getting bigger than I wanted to and taking longer and stuff on pages. I definitely find myself cutting down like dialogue. Like I won't cut out the scene, I won't cut out the shot, but I'll be like, I can't fit all the words in this box. How can I say all this with like 10 words?
Yeah, I've definitely. I mean, I went from a script that was about 120 pages long. I think it's now about 90.
Wow.
So I cut about 30 pages of the script, and most of that was just taking the fat out of, like you said, like out of a conversation where it's like, this is just like, what are they talking about? Get to the point.
Mm.
I only have so far cut 2 sort of like major scenes that were mostly set up for the next volume, so I feel like I'll just shove them into that volume.
Right. And then kind of kick that problem down the road, basically.
A little bit, I mean, they're sort of minor, so they don't impact the story in this volume. So I sort of felt like I could get away with it. If I end up having some time at the end, which I don't think I will, but if I do, I would certainly love to. I've created my pages so that I could reinsert them if I wanted to.
Right. That's smart.
Yeah, because I hate cutting anything. It's like you love your story, and it's like I feel like I tried to write a lot of whimsy into it. It is so dark, and it's a lot of that whimsy is what I had to cut out.
Because it's not moving the plot.
Right, because it was just sort of character development that we already could see in other scenes. So I had to kill some stuff that I feel like, well, I can, again, shove it to the next volume, but if there's a way I can put it back in, I certainly would. But this is fun. I mean,
well, it's looking good. Everything I've seen on it looks.
Well, thanks. Like I said, I've been teaching myself to draw. I'm very undisciplined. I've never had any art training at all, so this is. I learned mostly from watching your guys' YouTube videos.
Yeah, I learned a lot on YouTube myself.
Right? That's where I'm getting my education, so this has been really great for me.
I tell you, it is amazing how in one aspect, it's so easy to learn how to make comics now than it ever has been. Not to knock all the stuff that learned in school and what have you, but to see someone actually drawing and watching how they put together a page, I would have loved to have had the internet.
Oh yeah.
Especially in the early part of my career of wanting to learn to do and make comics. It's just it's wild how you can learn so much on YouTube, and it's like there's definitely stuff you're not learning in school, that's for sure.
Right.
And to see what people did,
and different points of view too, because like there's 100 answers to every question.
Yeah.
And depending on what teacher or book you're looking at, you're going to get that one. But if you're like, how do I draw hands? You'll find 15 different ways to do it if you look online.
Right. Exactly. Little tricks, little things, and it's like even though I've been doing this for a while now, I still go online and check coloring tricks to see if there's something that I haven't tried yet. There's a bunch of magazines that I pick up once in a while, and it's like, oh, how can I use that and pervert it and put it into comic books instead?
Right.
This is a trick that that you're using in advertising to do this. And it's like, oh, I could take that and do that in comics too.
And one thing I've gotten out of this that I think is really valuable and probably something that, wasn't accessible through the internet or otherwise was just to listen to other people talk about what they do have difficulty with. My brother and I, when we were growing up reading comic books and, let's draw one ourselves and all that, we really had like this idea that comic book artists were total perfectionists and that they could just draw something and they never made mistakes and there was no whiteout and there were no paste ups and there were, it was just the idea that the page had to be perfect.
And that's the thing, is like we only see the finished product.
Exactly.
It wasn't until I was working in the offices and held the art in my hand and like, this is all full of whiteout. This is all,
they're cheating.
Pencil lines and wait, it's like, I remember one artist told me, look, you have an eraser, use it.
Yeah.
But we weren't allowed to. Who told you that lie? And you sit there going, no one did. I think I just came up to it myself.
Yeah.
Looking at an X-Men issue, I think it was John Byrne must have drew it, and I'm looking at it, it's like I'm staring at Professor Xavier's head. And the back of his head is drawn so well, and it doesn't even occur to me that a template might have been used. I figured it must have been just freehand. And it's like, I can't draw that way. I could never do this.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly it. It was such a revelation the first time I saw an actual piece of comic art. For those exact reasons, it was like, wow, this isn't perfect. Look at there's all the blue lines, there's all the whiteout, there's the pieces of paper that are pasted over it because there was a big old mess on there. It was
Or a panel was redrawn because the editor sent it back.
Yeah.
You could tell these people that they did it wrong.
No, they didn't do it wrong. It happened in comics.
Well, we can definitely continue talking, but I think we've gone quite far enough. Part of me doesn't want to end it, but part of me is starving, and that takes priority.
Sustenance.
That is good.
Yeah, but definitely thank you guys for coming out.
Yeah, thanks for the
I want to
invite, Peter.
mention Jay Ferguson was here before. His dog was sick, so he had it cut out. But you can check out his work at airheads.com. Oh, airheadscustom.com. Airheads with a Z. But amazing work, and thanks for coming out, Jay. And Elena's here. Where can people find you? YouTube, Twitter?
Yeah, YouTube and Twitter. I have a Tumblr, but I don't update it anymore for, it's just one more thing to have to mind.
Yeah. But you're doing weekly updates for your second go round
Yep.
on D100s. Yep, and people can check out that. Then we have Gazbot
sir.
on
Yes, sir.
YouTube.
Yeah, Gazbot on YouTube. YouTube and Instagram are the two best places to get me. Instagram, I believe I'm Gazbottle. I'm on all the others, but like she said, like I cross-post to Twitter and Tumblr and stuff, but I don't really look at it.
Right, and then Wilson was with us tonight.
Yes, you can find my stuff all over the place under the Ramos Kaiju banner. So basically, I'm on Twitter under Ramos Kaiju, on Tumblr under Ramos Kaiju. You could check out my Facebook page, which is also Facebook Ramos Kaiju. And you can also get my books on Comixology under Section 8 Comics, and we also do a podcast called At the 8 Spot, which is basically just me and the guys who work at the Section 8 Comics talking about everything from comics to movies and what have you. So I'm fairly easy to find if you just Google search me anywhere. I'm all over the internet. I only exist online sometimes. I feel I don't really get to go out of the studio, but you can find my stuff everywhere. And freelance wise, I've worked for every company at one point or another, so you can check out my books there. But my personal stuff is really the Section 8 Comics items.
Right. Cool, man. And I'm Peter Palmiotti. As far as I know, I'm pretty much the only Palmiotti in the comic industry. But
I just learned that was not true.
oh, wait.
I can't say I'm the only Ramos, that's for sure. Can't tell you how many times I get asked to sign Humberto's books.
Do you just sign them?
That's funny.
I think about it, but I don't.
Tell them $2.
That's right, Humberto charges, I don't. So far my signature is still free.
Yes. But you can find a lot of my links are on my YouTube page, and of course you got to this video because you're already subscribed to my channel, or are you? I don't have a set schedule, but I do Studio Synergy sometimes. I do Arcast Hangout sometimes. Make a lot of videos, and I'm all over the place. G+, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, what have you. No, I'm not active. I need a cell phone again. Just thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you again next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.